Hello,
So just
people.
trying to fix
Yes. Music is way fucking not too loud. Girl talk is scary. Is Maddie there? Yes. There's a Matt here as well. Even though it's girl talk, he's intruding.
I'm out of
It's
my
just like the
comfort zone.
buffer in between everything.
Yeah. I mean, it would be interesting to get like a guy's opinion and everything. Hi, Matt.
I think I think you're expecting too much.
You're just gonna be here
Just
just
girl
looking.
topics, though. Like,
I mean, yeah, they're gonna be
there'll
like
be
some.
tattoos and shit in there as well, so.
Yeah, like you can say stuff, you know. By the way, I feel like there should be some sort of signal when we want to say something from chat, because sometimes like
Oh,
you
yeah,
seem
I know what you mean.
scared. Because it's like the thing, there are some people saying something in chat that I want to read, and then I'm like, I can't because people are talking. So, where's my stream? Okay.
There it is. Dropped frames already? Yes.
Is Matt gonna stream this? Yeah, I think you started now? Question mark?
I have, yeah.
Yeah. So welcome to this podcast.
This is always it. We always like just start the podcast, but there's no like introduction or anything. It's just...
We really need an introduction, just saying, but I don't know how to do. We just pre-record the introduction and it's over and over and over again until we start. And it's done. Yes, my mats are here. Matt is a girl, you'll love to see it. Yeah, Josh is a girl as well. We're all girls.
What up, Timid? Hello. Darn, you updated it too? Yeah, it's my podcast. I know what I'm doing.
I'm sorry, Josh. He's getting triggered because I called him a girl. Okay.
You guys don't need me. We need you, just not right now to update my command. Love you, Timmy.
We can do it. In touch with his feminine side. Okay, so the subjects today are gonna be somewhat revolved around women, I guess you can say, but at the same time, like, obviously everyone has an opinion about everything, including Matt, and our chat, who's predominantly male, so it's gonna be interesting. So, let's start with something easy, kinda, because this is, like, not necessarily girl talk, but I feel like it's still something. This was one of the things me and Latte talked about talking, I guess, is like tattoos, piercings, and like crazy colored hair. Like, I wanted to make this this podcast about conservatives, but then that's a fucking political thing, so I'm like, that's not gonna be great. So I feel like, you know, conservative looks, question mark. Hi, twin. Yes, right on time. So, opinion. So I obviously don't have any piercings or tattoos. Crazy colored hair? Sometimes. So, what about you, Matt? I take a lot to laugh.
I have no piercings or tattoos. I quite like tattoos. Like like I think they can look really nice and can be tasteful. I personally just don't have any. Don't know whether I'll ever get any, but I just don't have any. Crazy colored hair, I think, is a choice. I think it. Now this might be where it gets controversial, but I think it looks better on girls than it does on guys. I don't know. I just think guys don't really suit crazy colored hair. Although I suppose there's some that do, like Ninja, but personally, I wouldn't do it.
I mean, you think it's okay with Ninja because he already had that as like his trademark. By the way, Twin said hi to Matt and Latte, so hi.
Excellent. I think that's it. Yeah, maybe that's it. Like, I can't picture any of my friends that don't have crazy colored hair getting like blue hair. Like, I can't imagine any of them getting blue hair. But like Ninja, I can't imagine him without blue hair because I've only ever seen him with blue hair. Whereas like I could totally picture some of the girls I'm friends with like blue hair or pink hair. Like, if that's maybe single-minded of me, I don't know.
What about you, Lotte?
I mean, I have 5 tattoos and constantly getting more, so. And I've dyed my hair since I was 12. So you know how I feel about all of that. I feel like
Go ahead, you can watch the
there's
podcast on your stream. It's okay.
controversy about dyed hair, especially in like teenagers and stuff. They seem to think it's like people rebelling and, you know, you're trying to speak out against your parents or whatever, something stupid. But I feel like people tend to use dyed hair and maybe piercings as well. Maybe not as much piercings, but mainly dyed hair because it washes out. Just to sort of show some sort of personality, especially if you're in school and you have to wear like a uniform or something, and everyone looks like a sheep and a clone of each other. Then dyed hair is like, hey, I'm actually something different. Look at me, you know. And tattoos as well. It's just, you know, people have them for different reasons. Like, there's people that get tattoos because it's something personal, or it's, you know, something to remember someone by, or they get it because it's something they're passionate about, or they get it because they're drunk and they want to. But it's someone's personal opinion about whether they actually get it. It's not, there's no, obviously some tattoos have got ties to them, like you get like gang tattoos or whatever, and that then gives you a negative connotation to that tattoo because it means something that you willingly went into. But most of the time it's just someone actually wanting to not be a clone of everyone else around them.
I feel like it's really, you know, with tattoos at least, they have a stigma, you know, like, oh, they have a shit ton of tattoos, they mean they're bad people, or they've been in jail so many fucking times, you know, like, there are a lot of experiments, I guess you can say, like social ones, that, you know, if a person with a lot of tattoos asks for help, most likely they're not gonna get it and people are just gonna avoid them. And then like when a person without tattoos, you know, I mean, it can be even the same person, they just, you know, put makeup on their tattoos and they're like, yeah, it's, you know, people are so nice. And I feel like as long, this is like a thing that I have, I guess, and maybe more people should understand, as long as it's your body, you know, and you're not harming it to the point where it's damaging, you know, do whatever you want with it. There's a fucking dog barking again. Okay, great. You know, and like tattoos, it's not like I'm gonna, it's not like, oh, I'm gonna make my mom get a tattoo because I have a tattoo, so we have to match or something. You know, like you're not putting someone to do that, or dye their hair. Understand that it's damaging. Yes, we know, but it's like, you know, it's hair. It's gonna grow back. It's like something that you can actually change, and it changes constantly. So, you know, just piercings. You know, you and me, Latte, talked about the piercing that goes in there and just makes an entire big ass loop, and that's
stretches, whatever they're called.
Yeah, if it's like small and it's like stretched just a bit, you know, like at the Timid, don't change the category. No, don't do that. Did he do that to you as well?
Yeah, it's timid. We're experimenting. Leave it.
Yeah, we're experimenting. Don't do that. So you know, like if it's small and it's like, you know, it doesn't look disgusting, okay. But if you just stretch it to your shoulder, I'm not gonna be okay with that. You obviously can't change it anymore, but it's like, you know.
I think yeah. I mean, your body, you do you. I think it's a really tattoos and like coloring your hair or dyeing whatever. Like that's a really good way to express yourself as long. But I think like there's some sort of time and thought needs to go into it. Like dyeing your hair. Like I mean, if you want to do that, like that, go do that. But I think because tattoos like more permanent, like. Give that some sort of thought, not like, oh, I'm angry at my mum, I want to express myself, or I hate the system, I must go get a skull tattoo because I'm angry. I don't know, like I just give them, I think tattoos just need some thought. Like, my flatmate Aaron, who's on the podcast last week, he has tattoos, but he does this thing where he'll think of an idea for a tattoo, and then he'll wait for a month, and if he still wants the tattoo, like just as much as he did when he initially thought of it, then he'll get it.
Yeah, that's
but like if he doesn't want it as much, then he'll wait another month, and if he wants it even less, then he just doesn't get it.
Yeah.
I think as long as you put thought into it, then like your body, express yourself how you want, and I think they can be really tasteful. As for the piercings, like pierce whatever you want and how much you want, but like I don't agree with some of them. Like the people that have piercings all over their face, like just covered in piercings with the big stretchers. I just don't get it. Like I don't think it looks nice, but that's my own personal opinion.
Yeah, just there are people that go so extreme. There are like some that actually do surgery to like split their tongue or something in the middle,
or make had that.
Oh, I think I know a person that has that. I'm like, how it's interesting. Just don't show it to me, please, because they're like.
She got it in college, so she was like 17.
Oh.
Can't really make a big decision like splitting your tongue in half when you're 17, I don't think, seeing as that's going to be there forever. And now she regrets it.
Yeah.
Because now it's like there's no hiding that. Like if you get a bad piercing, even like something on your face, odds are eventually that hole will close up, unless it is like the giant stretcher in your ear.
Yeah.
Even that there is like surgery now to sort of semi-fix it. But that, how are you ever going to be able to fix that? Like, how would you ever change that back if you regret it a few years later?
Matt,
it's just insane to me.
Matt Spacco said hi. I don't know, but hi.
Oh, hey Spacco. Oh, hey Spacco. Sorry. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, even the stretchers. The surgery that you can get to fix the giant stretcher holes. Like I've seen the outcome of those surgeries, and I still don't think it doesn't look
your
good.
ear's still a weird size. It's not nice.
Like as good as that surgeon is, it's just not gonna look right. Like it's just not,
Yeah, like you did that to yourself. It takes a long time to do that, So
like I think make things that can change. Like if you put a piercing in your ear or like anywhere else, like if you take it out, it'll heal eventually to some degree. Like that'll be a thing that you don't need to have in anymore. But I think it comes under the same bus as tattoos. Like don't just do it as a whim. Think about it for a second,
Yeah, I remember I went away with a friend and we were sat in a bar opposite a tattoo parlor that had free walk-ins all day, and we both drank quite a bit, and we were like, you know what, let's just go over. If they've got a slot, we'll go.
Try Maddie.
And we'll just get like a matching tattoo like on our ankle or something. And I'm very glad they didn't have any slots, because now thinking back, I'm just like, oh, can you imagine if I did that? It wasn't even going to be anything nice. We literally didn't Google it for ages. We were just like, oh, you know what? You like elephants, let's just get an elephant. Or, hey, let's just get this random shape. Like, let's get a triangle. Like,
yes, Illuminati power.
I was totally expecting that story to be like, oh, and they had a slot, and I have an ankle tattoo. Like,
just one.
Oh my god, no. I was trying to convince my friend out of it. I'm like, she's had more to drink than me. We really shouldn't. I was like, oh, but you shouldn't get tattoos when you've had something to drink because it can dim the blood and everything. Trying to talk her out of it. And I was like, oh, can you imagine if I had to go and do this now? Good.
I guess it's like a good bonding experience, but I don't feel like it's great when you're drunk, And it's like
it's
just odd.
I also think that's a thing that all places should do. Like tattoo places, piercing places, I don't know what they're called.
Yeah.
And like they should all have like is this person drunk? Nah, they are. Ah, fuck off then. Or like, are they? No. Oh, we're good then. Let's get this stuff done. Like, there should be some sort of like limit, I guess.
Drunkometer or something.
Like,
how sober are you? Really? I
like
mean,
bouncers.
Yeah, and then there's like this thing where like, oh, you're gonna get tattoos now. Yeah, they may look cool, but when you get old, like they're gonna just get nasty. And I'm like, you're gonna get nasty when you're old. Like, what the fuck? Just it doesn't really matter. And I'm like, I don't know. It's like, I actually have seen a lot of like old people. They have like those military tattoos, like the mermaids or like simple stuff that they would get, and I'm like, oh, that's really cool. It kind of shows their past, especially if like something as specific as that, and I'm like,
yeah,
I
think it's cool. I think I just have this real thing. Like, I think military tattoos or like those kind of things, I think they age well, because anytime I see like an older gentleman or an older lady with a military tattoo, I'm like, that's pretty cool. But like if I see like an older gentleman with like a burning skull on his arm, I'm like,
Oh wow, okay.
and I'm like, and I want to know your history, but like, you know, that's my preference. That's like, he obviously did some crazy shit in his time to have a like burning skull on the back on his arm, but can you imagine having a burning skull on your forehead? Sorry, I looked at my forehead when I was thinking about it. Like just here, just a big burning skull.
I mean, there are people who are tattooing their face, and that's like, ooh,
yeah,
like that's so visible.
I can't do it. Can't do it.
There's like eyeliner that you can tattoo.
There's like a whole thing. Sure, didn't there used to be like a whole thing like it wasn't appropriate or acceptable for girls to get tattoos?
I'm pretty sure
like
that was.
Thing? I swear that was a thing. I couldn't have just made that up, unless I'm that fucked up. But I swear that was a thing. Like it just wasn't acceptable or appropriate for girls to get tattoos, like females to get tattoos. I think that was I think that's a stupid thing. Like I just like, of all the things to think are inappropriate for another person to do, like if guys can get tattoos, why can't a girl? You know? Like I'm glad that that's a thing now, that like it's not inappropriate, seen as inappropriate.
I guess I understand why like girls shouldn't get, because like tattoos can be somehow like manly, you know, is like, oh, you look, I don't know, it's more like a rough thing, I guess you can say, especially depending on the tattoo. If you have a butterfly one, that's not badass, but you know, like if you have an entire sleeve and you see a woman with it, you're like, wow, damn, that woman did some shit, you know, like it looks badass. And I feel like some men don't want to share that, you know, like I can't let this woman beat me and like something. And James asked, what do you think about tattoos on the neck? If they're not made like, if it's not like a full turtleneck of tattoos, I guess that's okay. I don't know, like a sleeve, there's a turtleneck.
I was thinking the exact same.
Smart.
I think like you can have like again, it's personal preference, but I think that like a tattoo on your neck, sweet, enjoy it, fine. I personally would rather have a small one, like a wee tiny one. But once it gets like a full turtleneck tattoo, I just think it doesn't look nice anymore.
Yeah.
Like sleeves, yes, and like the full leg, go for it. But like a turtleneck, I don't get.
Timid is gonna get a tattoo of Matt on his neck. That's great. You're gonna have two heads now.
Oh my god.
Do you know, is it bad that whenever you said butterfly tattoo, I immediately thought of Timid? Like I thought Timid would get a butterfly tattoo.
I mean, it's like that cliche, oh, the white girls are getting like an infinity sign or like stars or like butterflies, and I'm like, yeah, there are people who do that, you know. I'm not lying, when I was younger, like I would always draw like an infinity. You can't see my wrist, but it's there, I swear. Like I would draw like an infinity sign because it's easy to draw, and like, you know, I would never get a tattoo because I'm scared of needles. What about tattoos on the side of your lip? Ooh, I mean, it's kind of insane if you think of it, but at the same time, it's the easiest tattoo you can ever hide, honestly. So like,
it just immediately makes me think of Black Panther. You know, like the Wakanda tattoo. Like anytime anyone says lip tattoos, I'm like, but I don't really know if I understand. Like tattoos are supposed to be like, my understanding of tattoos is like supposed to be a visual representation, like clothing. Like it's supposed to like express you somehow.
Oh, it expresses me. Look at my lip.
Yeah, like I don't understand why you go through all that pain to then just hide it inside like your mouth. Like I don't get it.
I mean, I guess that can be a thing, but like at the same time, if that tattoo is like really, you know, emotionally related to you, and you don't care if people see it or not, I guess like that's a good place, so you don't like flaunt, oh, I have a tattoo, you know, type of thing. I guess that's a thing. But like, I feel like the lip is such a sensitive place, and you shouldn't really touch that. And when you said about that tattoo, that reminds me you of Wakanda. Well, I know someone who tattooed the word Chipotle on their lips, so I'm like, you know, it's quite different from Wakanda to that. So you know, just priorities.
I love it. I really hope he says, like, whenever he shows it to people, he says Chipotle, like the guys do in Wakanda. Chipotle,
Chipotle.
like, you know.
Forever.
Oh yeah, it would. That would be interesting. Eye tattoo. I feel like that's really dumb. But then there are women who do like their eyeliner permanently with tattoo, which is like,
Yeah.
eyeliner is really hard. I understand you, but like, I don't need a needle close to my eye. You know, it's.
That's the thing that I think is super smart. Like, you know, the way like
It
you can get
is,
your
but-
eyebrows tattooed on now, and like the eyeliner. I think that's just so efficient. Like, I really
Yeah.
respect that.
We evolved.
Like, I'm a man for keeping things simple and efficient. And God, if you can get your eyebrows and eyeliner tattooed so you don't have to do that in the mornings, go for it. Like, that's just smart.
It is.
You ever thought of that? Genius, you know? I respect them.
Okay, so
Even though I don't have that problem. Like,
eyeliner
And then
man.
my friend had her lip liner permanently tattooed, which is
I feel like
like,
that's just smart.
Interesting.
yeah. But the thing is, now she has to wear the exact same color every time.
Yeah, like
Which I think
Mm.
is like, what's the point in wearing lipstick if you're just gonna wear the same color?
yeah, like when she has her bare lips, it's just like an outline of red around.
Yeah. Oh, but she never wears bare lip. Like, never.
I
ever.
wonder why.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Did
Just
she,
as like a
does she have,
climb.
does she have like really like pale lips or something to start with?
No.
Do you know what I
she
mean?
She just, I think, I mean, as sad as it sounds, I think they were going for like a combo thing. So she got her eyeliner done and her eyebrows done, and then they're like, oh, we can do the lips too if you want.
she's
And
like,
she sort
yeah,
of just went
it's
for it.
free. Get it.
Like, yeah, okay, if you want to, sure.
Wow.
Each to their
Like,
own.
that just baffles me. But then I like barely wear makeup, so I'm just like, eh.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I mean, she's like until everything. I don't know. Does it fade easily? Because I know, like
I
on
think
the
it's like a few months.
hand or
maybe.
so, like that one goes fast, but like on the lip, oof.
I think it's different though, like on your hand or like in between your fingers.
Yeah, you
that
wash it
wears
really well.
quick
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
you're
I
washing
mean,
it
I've
and
got
like it rubs
two
against stuff.
tattoos on my finger,
Mhm.
and
And do they wear often?
I mean, I had to have them retouched because the person who actually did them awfully, and they faded within like 2 days.
Oh.
Oh, it was bad. Like
Damn.
it did like the blister thing, which it does when it's healing, and normally that peels off, and you're left with the nice tattoo underneath.
Mhm.
Well, that peeled off, and there was nothing underneath. It was actually just drawn on my
Wow.
finger with pen, and it had just vanished.
Oh.
So I had it retouched for free because they were like, "Oh, you know, sorry, we'll redo it." And no, it doesn't seem to be that faded. I've had it for like, I don't know, almost a year now, maybe.
Okay. But it's good they did
not
it
too
for
bad.
free.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
right.
originally they wanted to charge me, but I argued. Yeah,
Latte
they wanted to
being
charge
the
me like
boss,
half the
yes.
price. I was like, there's literally nothing there. Like,
Mhm.
I've paid for nothing. My finger is the same as when I came in.
You paid for
How
the
are you
pain.
charging me? Yeah,
Uh,
I paid for the experience, guys.
yeah, it's great experience. So
Yeah.
What is your
So
Mhm.
fun.
tattoo, if you don't mind me asking?
I
What's the
have
tattoo?
a camera on the inside of my finger that when you're holding a camera, that's the finger that you would see when you're like pressing the shutter. So I
Mhm.
have a camera. I'm like holding up my hand as though that actually helps you just like see it, but you know, you can see my finger, right?
Yeah, we appreciate
Yeah.
it.
What kind of camera? For some reason, when you said camera, I immediately thought, you know, there's like disposable.
Yeah, the
wind-up
vintage one,
ones?
yeah.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Ah,
Mhm.
nice, cool.
I'll put a picture up. I'll find a picture, but yeah.
Cool. Flixie said his mum got a. You know I assume I'm immediately thinking like do you know Inspector Poirot or the guy with the curly
Yeah.
mustache?
Mhm.
I'm assuming that's the tattoo, but his mum got a mustache tattue on the inside of her finger. So
Oh,
that when
yeah.
she puts her finger up,
Yes.
she's got a
I
re-tattoo.
love those
Mhm.
ones. They're so
I think
funny.
that's hilarious. I think it's hilarious until someone gets a
I'm so-
hipster
Think
tattoo.
all of
Oh,
one
that's
is
just
one.
Oh no.
Yeah, I feel like that's a trend right now, but you know, I don't want to be rude to Flixie's mom, but I feel like it's not like a mom tattoo, I guess you can say. Is like, oh no, I'm so quirky and like I'm a teenager. Because that was a thing like on Tumblr a while ago. They would just do that mustache thing, and I'm like, I'm sorry, Flixie, but you know.
Yeah, that Flix. Calling your mum old.
Cool mom. I'm just saying that
Flix
trend
does have
is
a cool mom. Flix, is your mom still single?
What the fuck?
Oh no.
Oh, it was his mom's friend. It was his mom.
Okay. Is she a
I'm
mom?
pretty sure though his mum was single and not that old. I don't think she is an old lady. Just for the record.
Well,
Defending
just you know.
Flixie's mum.
I'm now more concerned about you trying to hit on Flixie's mom, you know, wanting that stepson.
I'm so not ready for a stepson.
Oh
Watch
my
out,
God.
mom. Okay, so you mentioned earlier, like, the school uniform, which me and Latte did talk about, which I feel like it can be like a both subject, like girl and boy type of thing, but at the same time, I feel like girls are, you know, more fucked up by it. Like, there's a thing, no uniform and then uniform, and there's like the pervy uniform that girls get, and I'm like, why? Just, why, you know?
Yes, we have had this conversation a few times, but yes.
So I
School
don't know-
uniforms. Fun.
I don't know if your school uniform is like I assume everybody has different school uniforms, but for us in our high school anyway, we first year to fourth year students, girls got really short, skimpy like, pencil skirts, and they looked awful. And now I say that, but they also always rolled them up, which I never understood. But that's beside the point. And then the senior school girls got really long, like down to your ankle skirts, like the ones that are like flowy and like olden time 80s.
That's quite a fucking jump.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
split
but what
the
I don't understand
material.
is I don't understand why, if you had to have the two separate types of skirts, why not have the younger school girls with the longer skirts to like save their innocence or something? Like, I don't understand why you'd give young teens these skimpy, nasty skirts, you know?
Because they're young and fresh, and then the old ones are old and they don't look as good. Or I don't know. It's just like.
Something
I don't
pervy about it all.
Yeah, I got on the lucky side because in high school, I think there was, in my high school at least, like we would have same uniform for girls and boys. Like, girls were not forced to wear a skirt or a dress or anything. We would just have like a white shirt, a red tie, and like a blue or black blouser. That thing. So we were good. Like, we didn't have to wear skirts. And then I know that one school had to wear skirts, but they could go with whatever skirt they wanted. So it wasn't like, oh, we're giving you this tiny skirt to wear it. So that was okay. And like, I just feel like uniforms, I said this to Latte, I think they're made by pervy old men. And then they're like, oh, you're not wearing that properly. Let me adjust it. You know, just take your hand off my skirt, lady. I mean, not lady, but man, you know.
Human.
Yes, pervert.
I'm sorry, if a male teacher is fixing your skirt for you, I think you've got bigger problems.
Yeah, that's the problem. 'Cause you know. I mean, Latte has something to say about it, you know, just saying.
Oh, I do. I have many things to say about school uniforms.
Oh my God,
So,
no.
we briefly touched on this in messages, but
Yeah.
I don't like school uniforms purely because of my experiences. Like, I can see why they're good, because I've seen kids on like no school uniform days. They were bullied for not wearing like designer clothes or for not wearing certain things that were in
Twin,
fashion.
that's the entire point, not to fix the fucking skirt, no!
Sorry, I'm just watching Drew laugh. It's just really throwing me for what I was saying.
No, Twin
What
said,
are you
can I
laughing
fix
at?
your skirt for you? And I'm like, that's not the point of what we're talking about! No, I was trying to...
That really threw me. I was like, I don't know what to say now.
I'm sorry, I was trying not to interrupt you, and I was trying to talk to Twin as well. And I'm sorry.
It's fine. It's fine. It's a serious topic, guys. It's okay. Let's just minimize that and look at some trees. Yeah, I can see why they're good. But then in our secondary school, we were not allowed to wear trousers until like, I think it was brought in as a new rule in like my second or third year. Up until that, girls had to wear skirts and they had to wear these little blouses. Like even in winter, we didn't have jumpers or anything. And they had to be tucked in like a certain way, and always the male teachers would come up and try and like adjust everything for you if it wasn't proper. And it wasn't until like second year that we were allowed to actually start wearing trousers and the normal shirts that the boys wore. And it was just like, what? But how, just what? How is that fair? How is that even like legal? Like that just doesn't seem right. But it's like there was another school down the road that I refused to go to purely because the girls had to wear miniskirts, like above the knee. Like, you know, in America, they're like, your skirt has to be below the knee, your dress has to reach this height, it can't be showing your shoulder or anything. And they're arguing about that because it's too, like, frugal and, you know, conservative or whatever. But then in this school, it had to be above the knee. Like, even in the winter, you weren't allowed to wear tights or trousers. And it's just like, how is that allowed?
No tights under? Really?
No, really. Like, they had, it was an awful green as well, might I add. Disgusting green uniform. But they had, like, vomit green socks that, like, they weren't knee-high, but they weren't ankle. It was, like, a really weird length in between. Like, they were nasty, and they had to wear those.
They tried to achieve the anime like, level of the uniform or something.
It's just disgusting. Like, it goes from being a school uniform to being an adult wearing a school uniform for very different reasons. It's just like, that's not, how is that helping me study? That's not school attire, people. I don't know. I just don't like them. Purely for that reason now. It just freaks me out.
Yeah.
I don't mind. Oh, I want to see you in a school uniform. It's like, why?
Oh, please.
You associate.
Yeah, it's like
adult times.
It's really bad.
School times.
Cause like it's like the school uniform, which is meant for like, you know, they're like young girls that wear that. And it's like such. I feel like it's a porn genre, like entirely just schoolgirls, and I'm like, how? Why? So yeah, Camco said that. Nasty. I hate my school a lot due to school uniform. I spent 4 years there and never got in trouble, like not even a detention. And then one day they changed the rules and I got a whole day isolation for having an extra strap on my shoe. Excuse me?
That's something else I was going to mention to you as well, because you know I mentioned in the message how there was like a new rule that came in now that I'm not in the school. They've changed things again. So this is just after my brother left, so even he didn't have to deal with this. But they've suddenly changed all the rules. And kids were turning up to start the new year, so they'd been on like their summer holidays or whatever. They'd started this new year and they changed the rules over that summer holiday, only giving the parents, I don't know, like 2 or 3 weeks to get all this new uniform. Bearing in mind there are parents that can barely afford the first uniform, so they've already brought the stuff and now that's not suitable, so now they've got to try and find money to get this new stuff. And it's like, the kids that weren't wearing it, like Camco said, they were sent to isolation, or they were sent home for the day. And there were kids that were expelled for like a week because they were wearing the wrong uniform. How is that helping their studies, being sent home because they're not wearing the right colour blazer, or they're not wearing the right sort of trousers, or they're wearing black trainers instead of black shoes?
Wow.
How is that helping their studies? How is their type of shoe affecting their studies? It doesn't. But they were just like, oh no, we're going to send you home for a week until you can sort it. I don't get it.
Yeah, like, aren't you going to school to like learn, and they do the opposite? Like, oh, you're not dressed hip enough for us, so go back to home, you know, go back home. Like, and like, okay, if you want to change the uniform, at least like leave it until the end of the year, you know, because like they still bought stuff, you know, they have like another half a year to like fulfill everything, like summer vacation and stuff. Like, don't change it in the middle of the year. That's so fucking dumb. And then like put it so strictly that they really can't do anything, you know. Can't imagine being forced to wear uniform.
I don't mind them changing the uniforms and everything, but why be so strict on it? Like, that's not... I can understand if someone turned up, like Shodo has just said, blue light makes learning stick in the brain, you know, magic powers. If someone turns up wearing bright pink jumper and has suddenly dyed their hair bright green, and they're sitting in front of you in class, I can see why that's going to be a bit distracting and why they probably have a uniform. But if they're still wearing the same color uniform, or they're wearing something very similar, or a uniform that was fine a week ago but now is suddenly affecting everyone's studies, why would you send them home?
Yeah. I totally understand why schools like wearing uniforms. Like, I understand that, but I don't understand why you'd send someone home for it. I don't even understand why, like, slightest difference is why you would send someone home. Like, guys don't get sent. Like, most guys under non-extreme circumstances wouldn't get sent home for wearing like slightly different colored trousers. Like, our school uniform was black trousers for guys anyway, was black trousers, but some guys turned up wearing gray trousers because that's all they had, and like they never got sent home. But a girl comes in wearing a slightly different colored skirt, or like they come in wearing navy tights instead of black tights, they get sent home. And like, I don't understand. I just don't understand why. Well, one, why it's double standards, and two, why you'd send someone home for clothing.
Yeah.
Fair enough if they're wearing something very inappropriate or very distracting, but on both sides, both guys and girls. But for like a color issue or for like something stupid, I don't understand that at all.
I mean, there was this thing like. There were so many memes made by this, like, oh, a guy comes to school with a fucking tank top, a girl comes the same, she's sent home, like, how dare you? And or he comes shirtless and she comes fully clothed, she's sent home, something is wrong with you, this dude is fine, you know, like, I mean, obviously that's an exaggeration, but it's just, you know, and obviously with girls, it's like, oh, the way you dress is so distracting, like, how dare you? And I'm like, why are you looking at her? You know, like, what's your problem? You know, and if teachers say that, because there was a thing, I read like an article where there was a dude that kept pulling on her strap, you know, it was in class, and the teacher said, you know, she said to the teacher, can you like do something, move him or move me or something? And she's like, oh, well, it's your fault that you came with that. And she's like, okay, you know, and the dude kept doing that, and then she was like, stop it, and then she punched him. And then she was sent to like the principal and stuff, and they called her mom, and the mom was like, why is she here? Well, you know, she punched the dude. And like, why? And she's like, oh, well, you know, she punched, you know, because they didn't really want to say why. And I feel like the dude even took a picture of her or something, and I think she like cracked his phone. So, you know, good. It was like the mother took the daughter's side, and I was like, oh, why did she break his phone? Yeah. Oh, he had an inappropriate picture of my daughter and he didn't want to delete it. Well, you know, that's
no phone
good
for
bad
him.
luck for you, you know. And it's like, it sucks, you know, because like, it's the thing, like, girls have to dress in a proper way so that guys don't get funny ideas. They're gonna get funny ideas no matter what you're dressed with, you know? And that's just like, don't blame the girls. Like, teach the boys not to act on their impulses, because we can act on our impulses as well. We can kick your nuts when you're annoyed. Like, we don't do that, but you know, we get in trouble. Yes.
Didn't like that thought.
Yeah. So Red said, that his college didn't have a uniform but had a dress code, but you get warnings or infractions as well for not following those dress codes, specifically for the girls in our school. It's weird they're allowed to wear skirts as long as they're below knee length. I mean,
I don't think that's weird. I think that's
okay. Good. Like, you know, knee length. If they're higher and they're like fucking, you see their butt, because I had some classmates that were like, you know, and just the thing is, you can here at least the dress code is not as serious as in other countries. So we can have the white shirt, but they can make it so fucking tight on them, like a button just could pop off any second, or like skirts, or like, oh, you know, it's open a bit too much. And like the teachers wouldn't really say anything because for us it's not as bad, you know. So yeah.
The year I was leaving school here was the year they brought in this new rule, and it was that during sports, like whether it be going to the gym or going running or whatever, girls were no longer allowed to wear leggings because it was distracting. And we were like, who the fuck's it distracting? The boys? And then it came out that it was distracting for our male sports staff. And I was like, hold on, our male sports staff shouldn't be looking at lasses. Like, what's going on here? And that was a whole thing. And then it came out that it was like inappropriate to ask girls not to wear leggings for that reason. So they then just changed the rules and like, oh, it's to keep the boys innocent. I was like, the boys aren't innocent to start with.
Yeah, fuck off. I get that, you know, leggings are not, they can show a lot, you know, especially if they're not good. I get why leggings shouldn't be worn kind of in class, especially with boys. I get that, but like, if the main problem is fucking teachers, like, get better teachers. Just get girls, actually, like women that can teach sports, because they're not, okay, they might stare at butts, but they're not going to do anything, you know. And I
don't even think it needs to be just get female teachers, just get non-pervy ones.
Yeah.
And then, like, just, you know, let your teachers better.
Yeah, a teacher can teach female sports, just don't get a pervy one.
Yeah, kind of hard to spot them.
That's another thing. When we were in school, in like PE and everything, we were allowed a male teacher, but we couldn't have there wasn't allowed to be a female teacher teaching the boys in sports.
We didn't have that.
Okay, so you had different classes?
They weren't allowed. Yeah, we had different classes. And we had a male teacher and sometimes a female teacher, but they wouldn't let the female teacher work with the boys just in case they did anything inappropriate, or just in case the female teacher did anything inappropriate. And I'm like, just maybe not have them as teacher. Good idea, maybe. Don't hire them. Ask them a question at the interview.
If you're making rules because you question your staff's integrity, don't have them as staff. Like, what's going on there?
I mean, you know, is the thing. Like, they even separated the students, you know, in like girls and boys, so why didn't they separate the teachers as well? Like, you give girls a woman, you give boys a man. Like, what's so hard about it, you know? So they think about the boys, and yet they don't think about the girls. Like, aren't they feeling uncomfortable having a male teacher, you know, while thinking of the other rule? Especially because, like, it's easier to assault a girl rather than a boy, you know, and like...
Yeah.
What the fuck
like,
is this?
It's fine for them to have a male teacher be in the female changing room whilst they're getting changed, but it wasn't okay to have a female teacher in the male's changing room.
Yeah,
it completely blows my mind. Like, I don't understand. I'm pretty sure those male teachers are the ones that made that rule, but...
we didn't even have that. Like, our teachers were allowed to teach whoever was doing whatever sport or activity, but we had like two different changing room corridors, like one for guys, one for girls, and the male staff weren't allowed, like, they weren't allowed past the doors that started the corridor for the female, and the same with the other side. Like, they just weren't allowed, like, there were offices for the male PE staff in the male corridor, and like the women staff just weren't allowed in. Like, it just wasn't like they just weren't allowed to go in there.
Yeah.
I just think changes in toilets are things that just shouldn't be allowed to be mixed, in my opinion. Especially at that age. But like, sports, I don't think is necessary. Just vet your staff so that they're not perverts.
Yeah.
Yeah, Red said that. Also, a thing that I found weird about genders in school, they separate PE and teach them different sports. Boys need to learn basketball, and girls can either do volleyball or badminton. Like, Red wanted to play badminton, never liked basketball. I find this odd that you split, by gender, because we had a class. Obviously, this is different, because here, at least in high school or anything, like, we don't go to different classes for the teacher comes to our class, so it's like the same 20 people every day, the entire year, everything. So when we did PE, we were all like girls and boys. We had different changing rooms. We have, just opposite sides. Yeah, boys would try to mock and come in our changing room and shit like that, but it was separate, and then like PE, yeah, there were some like nasty boys, I guess you can say, and then some girls that were looking for attention, like too tight of a shirt or too tight of pants and stuff like that. But I mean, that can happen on corridors as well, so we didn't have it separately, and we would just learn the same thing. And then James said, aren't boys just as vulnerable as girls? I think that was when I mentioned that, with girls, they shouldn't have a male teacher and stuff.
Yeah, that made me cringe, because you said that girls are easier to assault than boys.
I mean, yeah. I'm not saying
I mean,
boys aren't. It's just like it's a higher percentage of girls, and I'm like, I feel like girls are scared of it constantly, while boys get scared of it only after they get assaulted. Because I don't think, have you ever thought you're gonna get assaulted by a teacher, man? Like a woman?
Female teacher?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Have you ever walked down the street and thought, hey,
Yeah.
maybe I should walk away from this random woman just in case she grabs me?
Yes.
Yes, all the time with the cat. I mean,
Oh god, it's her again.
Yeah.
The woman with full body tattoos and piercings. I walked on the other side of the street.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying boys aren't. It's just that the thought of them being scared by a female is just not as often, unless they already had an incident with something like that. And like with girls, I feel like from a young age, we're taught, don't go out too late, come back home, because boys are on the street later. I don't think with with boys, it was like, come back home because girls are on the street and they can do bad things to you, It's this thing we were taught to fear, to be alone,
Yeah,
so
raised with it. That's the worst part,
Yeah.
is it's literally like the whole, if he pulls your hair, he likes you, but at the same time, if he pulls too hard, run away from him. Like, that's what we're taught. Like, every guy is dangerous, do not go near them. But also, if they're trying to hurt you, that means love. Go towards them. It's like, where is your logic right now,
which
people?
is odd, because like, if he pulls your hair in school, he means he likes you. But if he pulls your hair on the street, does he like you as well? It's that environmental thing. And it's...
I hate that that's a thing, because it's so fucked up, but it's so accurate.
It is, because like, that's what I heard when I was in school. I was like, why is he bullying me? He likes you, but he's too afraid to tell you. And I'm like, oh, okay. And
you believed it as well, and that's the worst part, is that you literally grew up believing that if a guy was mean to you, that means they like you, and that's just like recipe for toxic relationships.
Yeah.
Like that's not a good motto to follow in life.
James said, I think women are more vulnerable than men, but boys are just as vulnerable as girls. Yeah, because they're young, But
yeah, that was the original point. That when it's grown up, like I'd say, like from 15, 16 onwards, that line is definitely a thing. Like girls are definitely more vulnerable to being assaulted. But when they're young, like young junior school, I think the line is blurry. I think that they're just equally as easy to be assaulted. Although, yes, I agree that girls are brought up to be aware and to be scared of that kind of activity. Guys aren't, but that doesn't mean they're any less susceptible to it.
I think guys should also be brought up with that sort of thing. Like, if someone hurts you, then do run away from them. Like, because that's just logic. But yeah, I think when you're younger, it's very easy, no matter what gender you are, to be assaulted. But then at the same time, it's genetically, boys do have higher muscle mass even when they're younger. So like they probably would be able to get away a bit faster. Like I obviously can't speak from experience. I don't know how
Boys
that
work.
works.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how guys work. Okay, I'm learning, but it's it's when, like you said, there is a line when you get older that I think guys should be taught that they can be assaulted. If someone asks you to get into the back of the van, do not go, no matter what your gender.
Yeah.
But
No
that
matter
does
whether
need
there's
there.
candy or not.
Well, the funny
Don't
thing is,
get in the back
all
of
of
the
my
van.
friends were taught don't get in the back if they offer you sweets. I was taught
Yeah.
don't get in the back if they offer you puppies.
Not
Because
in
they
I was
knew
just-
if someone offered me sweets, I wouldn't go. But if someone said there's puppies, I would go.
What if
no
now
matter
they
what.
would
Was I-
offer you baby plants though?
I mean, I'd go. I can fight someone off. I can hotwire a van. I'd take them
okay.
all.
That's a good.
Was I the only one taught just don't get in the back of a van? Was I honestly the only one? Like,
There's a thing like stranger
No.
danger, but I was thinking right now, there are a lot of young boys that get kidnapped. Like just like girls. But the thing is, I feel like with boys, they might be a bit more naive when it comes to this, because they weren't as scared of strangers as girls were taught to be. Like they just knew stranger danger. That's all they knew. Just don't go, that's not good. Well, with girls, it's more like stranger danger, that's not good. They can do stuff to you, like they can be dangerous, they can do that, and you can be sold or stuff. Because that's a thing that I knew when I was younger, that if I go late, like there can be a stranger and he can take me, obviously my mom wouldn't say he would rape you. He would say that he will sell you, because that's a thing, And I feel like boys can be a bit more naive, because, the thing with, Red said boys are taught not to run away, because they're strong, you're so strong, and you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, that's a toxic thing as well. That's like the complete opposite side of what we're taught, but it's just as toxic.
Yeah, because like they
you
can
have
think
to fight someone off. Like, no, run away, dude.
Yeah, it's like, boys can get, like, boys and men. The thing is, the assault, like, even with younger boys or younger girls, mostly comes from men. Like, teachers, male teachers, So that's, like, male again. I'm not saying women can do that, because I'm pretty sure they can, like,
yeah.
There are cases of women just seducing their students. And I feel like there's a toxicity to it, because some male boys that get assaulted by a teacher or something like a female, it's not seen as badly, like as if a male teacher assaulted a girl or a boy. It's like, oh, you scored with that teacher, you're so cool and stuff. And I'm like, excuse me? Because that's like bad.
Yeah, there's that whole thing of guy sleeps with female teacher, absolute
Yeah, good
stud.
job,
Girl sleeps with male teacher, slut. Like, that's just...
Yeah.
Like the body
There's that
count,
whole
it doesn't matter.
I think that's...
It's like
up.
one quote that I was always told that is very accurate now is that a key that opens a lot of locks is a master key, but a lock that's opened by a lot of keys is a shitty lock.
Yeah.
Like, if a guy can go and sleep around a lot, he's a legend. Oh my god, it's amazing. Well done, you scored.
Yeah.
If a girl sleeps around a lot,
You're a
instant
whore.
slut. Like
Yeah.
you said, right away. How could you do that? Oh my god, you've slept with so many people.
Yeah, and I feel like
It's just... I was just gonna say, it's just a sexist society that we still live in and needs to change.
I mean, it's not good, no matter your gender, if you're a female or a male, to sleep with a lot of people. Both are sluts if you think of it.
If you want to be, go for it.
Yeah, but it's just like, don't say like they have the same body count, but just one of them is a slut, because they're women. Because they're a woman. It's like, why are they and not them? It's just I don't know.
Slut's a slut.
Yeah.
Male or female.
But that doesn't have to be a negative thing either. Like, people say that if you sleep around, you're a slut and that's a bad thing. Like, no. If that's what you want to do, go ahead. If you just want to save yourself for one person and that's who you marry for the rest of your life, go ahead. It's both sides are perfectly acceptable because it's up to you. As long as you're doing, safe, sane, consensual, then go ahead, do whatever.
Yeah, just be safe and be smart about it.
Yeah. I feel like the
Do you
thing
want after that?
that makes it bad is when you start to brag about it. You know? You know, as you say, you can do whatever you want with your body, but just don't brag about it. Oh, like, I had sex with 3 dudes last night, or 3 girls, and I'm such a stud, and like, you know, it's like, why? You know? Because
It's like the kiss and tell thing. Like, I don't kiss and tell. Like, yeah, if you've got like a best friend and you want to go and tell them about the date you had last night and how far it got, then go ahead. But I've been on the opposite side of that, where I've been with a guy and then he's gone and bragged to loads of friends that I was also friends with, and I didn't know until they started messaging me going, "Oh my god, I heard what you did last night," and I'm like, "How did you find out?" Like, "Oh yeah, you know, your boyfriend told us." "Oh, that's
Wow.
great, thanks. That's good to know." Like, no, don't do that. Don't be asshole. But that's common sense. Like, that's literally
I think that happens on the flip side as well, though. Like, that's not just the guys being guys. Like, that girls do that too.
Oh yeah,
like
definitely.
I've had relationships where we've slept together, and then the girl has went and told all of her friends, and then all of her friends, who I'm in the same friend group with, would come back at me and be like, "Oh, I can't believe you slept together. Oh, I heard you like blah blah blah," and I'm like, "You didn't need to know any of these details, but thank you."
It's private for a reason. Like,
yeah,
if obviously you and your partner both don't mind it being going public, then again, that's your own thing. Go ahead. But if it's just one of you suddenly telling all of your friends, who then tell all of their friends, because you know for a fact, even if you trust your friend, like with your life, if you tell them, don't tell anyone else, they're gonna go home and tell their partner or their best friend, who will then go on and tell someone else. And then you realize how small a world it is, because everyone suddenly knows everyone. And you get friends that you haven't spoken to in ages coming back to you saying, "Oh, I heard what you did." It's like, "Oh, hello, stranger that I haven't spoken to in years. How did you find out?"
It's like... The thing is, boys can be sluts with no danger. Like, they can just sleep around and have no worry about tomorrow, while girls have to worry about it, you know? Oh, I can get pregnant by this, you know? And like, the STD, that's on both sides. I'm not gonna mention that because it's like, both of them can get it.
Common sense as well.
Yeah, but like, with girls, they have this concern. I can get pregnant. And like, especially if, let's say the dude doesn't want to wear a condom or something because he's not comfortable or shit like that, and then the girl has to take everything else besides that.
It's always on the girls' shoulders to sort it out. Like, we're the ones that have to take the pill, or you know, the after pill, or everything else. It's always on the girls' side to do everything.
That's the thing I've never understood. Like, if a guy, if you go to bed with a guy and he decides he doesn't want to wear a condom, then he can get to fuck, in my opinion. Like, if he doesn't want to do that, then why should you have to be in charge of it? Like, you shouldn't have to be taking the pill. Like, I mean, it's safe and you probably should, but if he just because he doesn't want to wear a condom, you have to take a pill, or you have to do the day after pill. Like,
I mean, you know, the thing is, the after pill you can take just twice a year, like once every 6 months, from what I know. And that's like the thing, especially if it's a one night stand, and the girl is not on birth control, and like, you know, okay, she does it once, she takes the second day pill, she has another night, you know, one night stand. She can't do that again. Like, it's your responsibility to do it one time. What's so hard, you know? Like, you are into this, and then like, the girl has to take it every day until she has sex, like the birth control, and she doesn't know when that is, you know? And it's like on a tight schedule. You have to put an alarm to not forget. If you forget one day, you might as well be fucked, you know? And James said,
fucked up.
Oh, okay. So he said, agreed, women should be forced. There was like, he forgot to say shouldn't. Women shouldn't be forced to... Yeah, I was like, excuse me, where are you?
I'm sorry, goodbye, you are not my friend anymore.
Yeah, no, he said women shouldn't be forced to take pills, but contraception should always be a conversation beforehand. Yeah, if you're like in the long like relationship, or you start one, you know, that's a conversation that you can have. If you know your partner doesn't like a condom, at least you know you have to take the pill. If it's a one night stand, that's so, you know, it's just...
If you didn't prepare, you went out for drinks with your girlfriends, you didn't prepare to meet someone that you suddenly hit it off with, and then you want to go home with him. Like, it's a lot of girls now have started carrying like condoms and everything in their bag, which guys then think is really ballsy of them, and they're like, I'm not going to sleep with someone that, you know, assumes that we'll get that far. And it's just like, really?
But
I didn't thought it's
at
you,
the same time,
but...
though, at the same time, though, if you do that on the flip side, a guy always carrying a condom with him. I mean, don't get me wrong. A lot of guys,
you're such a stud.
yeah, a lot of guys do, and like that's just like it's taught that you should always have a condom on you because it's safe sex. You never know what's going to happen. But at the same time, it's like you're walking around with a condom. Are you expecting sex? And I've had that conversation with girls where they've been like, "Why do you carry a condom around? Are you expecting to get laid?" And I'm like, "No."
I don't know,
Nope,
but is she expecting to get pregnant? I don't think she does, you know.
But like, you're taking the pill every day, but you expecting to get laid? No. Oh, well then, there we go. Like, it's just
smart.
I think it should be. I think it should be the guy's job to carry to have the condom. In my opinion, I think
because that's your only form of protection. Like, think
it's
of it on
his
the flip
job.
side.
He needs to wrap it.
Like you said, the girls got to take the birth control and the morning after pill. That's great. It stops us from getting pregnant. That's our role to make sure to protect us. But then on the other side, what if there's a guy who's with a girl who doesn't want to use the condom? She's the one that's saying no to it. It's then his job to protect himself. He can't get pregnant, but he could get an STD.
Yeah.
Or he could get her pregnant and then be having to deal with that side of things.
Yep.
Like, it's a two-way street. You both need to be responsible. If you're both consenting to do this, you both need to be responsible and have your own form of protection, but also not just assume that the other person will definitely take care of it, because it's not their job. Especially in a one-night stand, it's technically a stranger. Like, you might just about know their first name. You should not trust them to say, oh, I'm definitely on the pill, or, oh, I've definitely haven't tampered with this condom. Like, no, you do not trust them. They are a stranger. Do everything you can to protect yourself.
Timmy just said,
I'd also take that one. Oh, hold on. I also think I would take that one step further, and I wouldn't trust them or believe them that they don't have an STD.
Yeah, don't.
Like, if I'm ever having a one night stand,
there's people that lie about that, and that's terrifying.
The thing is, they might not even know they have it. You know, which
if they
is
sleep around a lot, if you're not their first one night stand of the week, they might not know.
Or the night. Wink, wink.
Oh, that's even worse.
Also, if it's particularly easy to get to that stage of the one night stand, like if it took no effort, I definitely wouldn't be trusting that they haven't been sleeping around.
Oh, yeah. So,
I mean, I'm not saying anything against, like, oh, if you have a one night stand, that means you sleep around a lot anyway. But if you have one night stands a lot, then there's always going to be that extra risk. And I think the people that you sleep with who clearly can tell that you have a lot of one night stands, they're just as risky.
That means
like more than likely they're sleeping around a lot as well. Like, that's just a recipe for disaster. I know, obviously, if you're both really drunk, the last thing you think of most of the time is protection. But you also shouldn't be getting that drunk and then taking a stranger home to sleep with them.
Yeah, I also think if you get to that stage where you stop thinking about protection, you should you shouldn't be having sex anymore. Like, that's just, you lose the right to say yes or no.
Yeah, so
like, if you're that smashed, let's just go to your own bed, you know.
The thing is, there's a lot of people that will take advantage of that, but guys and girls, like, it's not just one side of it. There are people that will see someone drunk in a bar and take advantage of that because it's quick sex, or it's even more malicious, some easy target to then infect with an STD. Because there are people that do that, and it's just terrifying to think that someone finds that fun to infect. Like, there was a story ages ago of a guy who was just literally, he was HIV positive, and he would tell people he's not, and he had like a really faked health certificate to prove that he'd had recent tests to show that he wasn't, like, he was negative. and then he texts them like the next day saying, haha, you might want to get tested.
Yeah, I actually fucking
And that's
remember that story.
terrifying.
That's
Like,
awful.
the idea that someone is willing to do that, and then like they've already ruined their life because they've had unsafe sex and they've now got an infection that's going to ruin their life forever. The fact that they're like, you know what, fuck it, let's just ruin some other people who don't even get the choice, is terrifying.
Yeah, so what Tim had said a while back was like, if you carry a condom with you every day, make sure to replace it after a while even though you don't use it. Heat from your pocket or wallet, you can use the condom to break and use. Yeah. Or like,
Tim had said that. Sorry, I missed some of that. What was that?
If you wear a condom with you every day, make sure to replace it after a while even though you don't use it. Heat from your pocket or wallet can use the condom to break and use. Or it can cause friction or stuff. And I think Red wants to say something.
They get old. They just get old. I think if that's actually a thing that I don't think guys are taught. Like they have to figure it out. Like condoms expire. Like they get old. They get worn. Like you get taught to carry it with you, and to like, oh, you never know, just in case. Better safe than sorry. But I know guys that had the same condom in their wallet for years and never changed it, and I'm sitting here like, well, good luck to you. Because like they get condoms are really those weird things. If they get too warm, they can become like expired. If they get too much friction, or they get like if you have your wallet in your back pocket and you sit on it a lot, like that can cause it as well. Like they do expire, and like guys just aren't taught that. Or at least a lot of guys don't get taught that.
Yeah, and I mean, girls are not gonna ask you, oh, for how long have you been carrying this condom with you? You know, it's like. And like obviously no dude in their like, you know, right mind are gonna say, oh, for like a few months, you know, they're gonna be like, I just took it, you know, they're gonna act cool because they're like, what the fuck is this question, you know. Red said with the STD thing, there were some homeless people here that randomly stick people to you know with needles to infect people with HIV or STD.
I've heard that before as well.
Yeah, same. Which I think is fucked up. I think if you're it doesn't matter under what circumstances it is. If you're going around trying to give other people diseases, that's fucked up.
Yeah, you're actively going out and doing that. Like, you know, it might not be 100% of the time, but you know there's a very, very high risk they're going to get what you've got, and you get pleasure from that. You need serious help, because that is just
fucked up,
unimaginable.
Yeah. So, moving from the sex thing and like STD thing is the abortion topic, which we did talk about a bit with you, Matt, and I think, I don't know who was the guest, but that was a topic as well. How it's in America and some states it's forbidden right now to do that, or like they're trying to do so. And there was a time here, at least in World War II, where it was illegal to do that. Like, it was actually, and people were just going to random doctor offices and they were trying to get an abortion, and it would be just so sketchy because you didn't know what they were doing, you know, to you. You just wanted to get rid of that child. Or even, I know, like, there were random plants that you can take and you can cause yourself an abortion, but that will damage you, you know, like it could damage the uterus and you can never have a child again. So it's it's
not good. It was I'd say recently, this might have been a while ago, like a year ago, but it was recently legalized in Northern Ireland, I think. Like it'd been illegal,
last
like
year
probably
sometime,
illegal,
I think.
Yeah, I think so. Like it'd probably been illegal for quite a while, and it was only legalized recently. Because like it was legalized in Southern Ireland, I believe. Like it was a thing you could do, and people would go to Ireland to do it. But it was only recently that it became legal in Northern Ireland, which I don't really get.
Yeah.
Republic, not Northern. Oh wait, what do you mean? Is it still illegal in Northern Ireland? No, it's definitely legal here, right?
Yeah, but like just last year.
They've just made it legal.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Very, very recently made it legal.
Yeah.
Like up
but like,
until.
It's just it. I I don't know how I feel about it. I'm not against it. Put it that way. I'm not against abortion. I just think there needs to be limitations to it, and I think there are. Like, I don't get me wrong. I don't know what's happening. I don't understand. I don't know what is legal. I don't know when it becomes illegal or if it ever becomes. Fuck if I know. But I think there needs to be certain guidelines or rules. Like, someone told me that, like, in some places, like, you can have an abortion up until like 2 hours before it's born. In some places, and I'm sitting here like, that's a fucking person.
2
Yeah.
hours.
That's not right. That cannot be.
I swear, there's somewhere. So, well, this is taken off of someone, so who knows? But I was like, they were 100% confident that there is a country out there somewhere that, like, they've made abortion legalized from, I think they said from conception all the way until 2 hours before birth.
You carried that child 9 or 8 months, and they're like, I don't want it anymore, kill it. What? Wow.
Yeah, that is murder at that point, because premature babies can be born way before that, and they will survive perfectly fine.
That's what I'm saying.
Up to a certain time when it's not, because there's the whole argument about as soon as they are conceived, they are alive, and therefore it is murder no matter what time you do it. But there's also the flip side where it's like, well, no, if they physically could not live without being inside of you, they are not alive.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a living person at that point.
Yeah, if it can't, there's a whole bunch of arguments that, like, well, there's the whole religious side as well, but there's also when it's initially conceived, it's just a cluster of cells, or when it's initially conceived, or to a certain point, it can't survive on its own, like you said, like it couldn't survive outside of the womb, like without help, like that's not a thing. Or there's the whole thing of, I remember someone made an argument once, and I don't know whether this was ever more than just their argument, but it's you're killing the possibility, the potential that being could have had.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
but then,
I mean,
it's not really strong.
You're killing
people have abortions depending on their like situation. So even if that fetus could have grown up to be, I don't know, an amazing neurosurgeon. If it was born into an environment where that wasn't ever going to be a possibility, like if it was born into an abusive environment, or someone who wouldn't even be able to give it food and it died after like a year.
Yeah, there's so many possibilities that can affect that possibility, you know.
Like, yes, it could have grown up to be an amazing human, but there's always nature versus nurture. If it grows up in an environment where it's not going to be able to go off to college or even go to school, what possibility have you actually given it?
Yeah. James said, do you think any abortion is bad no matter the situation? No. I mean, okay, I've been raised religiously. The law says so, it's okay. You know, I've been raised in like a religious family, not insanely religious, but still, it's like, I'm thinking, yes, you can think that it's a lie from the moment it's, made, but then at the same time, if that possibility of a baby, it's affecting the actual mother, like, if she gives birth to that baby, she's dead, because there are, like, health problems that can be caused by a pregnancy, especially in really young girls, if it's, like, the result of a rape, because I know there was a case about a raped girl, and she couldn't do an abortion because it was illegal, and that was the kid of the rapist, and she died when she like gave birth to the child, but it was illegal, so she practically gave her life in, like, giving birth to something that was caused during a traumatic event. And I feel like that's another reason why you can do an abortion. If you're getting raped, that was literally not your choice, and it wasn't the rapist's choice either to leave you pregnant. I'm pretty sure, like, he doesn't want a baby, he wants sex. And it's like, a pregnancy caused by rape, a pregnancy that will kill you or give you like major health problems, or if your baby like really early on is gonna develop an illness that is gonna be really bad. Because you can see that. And I know like there's some people who want abortion when they know like their kid is gonna have Down syndrome or stuff like that, and they can live with that. Like, it's actually something. They're like, they're like Down syndrome. It's something quite serious, but at the same time, they grow up to be such sweet people, But like, if they grow,
it's a perfectly livable condition.
Yeah, but if they have like an illness, there's so many things that can, you're
They could be born with cerebral palsy or something and literally only have an estimated life of 5 years, and in that 5 years, they're never going to be able to speak or breathe on their own without a machine, or eat, or talk, or move.
I mean, there's always the
yourself through that emotional trauma and that child through the physical trauma, where you know that it's a lost cause.
There's always that possibility.
I know it's bad comparing a child to an animal, but if you adopt a dog and then you find out that it's never going to be able to walk and it's going to be walking in pain for the rest of its life, the smart thing to do is, as sad as it is, put the dog down. Like, it sucks, but it's for the better of the dog. In that same thought, if you know before that child's even born that it's not going to have a life, it's not going to be able to survive without your every single moment of your care, why would you put yourself and that child through that? That's in some ways it's selfish, because that child's not going to be able to live, but you desperately want this child.
Yeah.
It's sometimes seen as a little bit selfish to put that child through that just because you want that child.
I mean, there's always, the possibility of the child managing to go through it, because there are like miraculous babies that go through it and live longer than expected. Yeah, there is, but then at the same time, majority isn't. Now, obviously, it's your choice if you want to carry that pregnancy and you want to have that kid, but it's like, don't expect a miracle. Like, don't think, oh, my kid is gonna be special. He's gonna be one of those possibilities, because I feel like I understand why, because like, it's their child. They carried that child for so many months and they wanted to have a kid. Yeah, it can be selfish. At the same time, it can be hopeful. At the same time, they don't want, the emotional murder of their child, because that's gonna be painful. But, it's situations. James said, shouldn't a guy be charged with murder in the situation, even if the baby's okay? Like, when the mom dies, like with the rapist, for example, when I said,
I'm pretty sure if they were caught, if they found that rapist, they would actually probably be charged with, like, manslaughter, because they did aid and abet their death.
Yeah, but at the same time, isn't the fucking, like, law, because, like...
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Should the law be put in jail because, this young mother died because this law killed her? She didn't have the choice.
And there are people that still argue that now. Like, why is it... Because the thing is, it's legal. It's illegal in places, mainly because of religion, right? But if you're that desperate, if you have been raped, or you're 15 years old, you had sex for the first time, you got pregnant because you're 15 years old and you don't really understand fully what you've got yourself into, and you want that abortion, but it's illegal, you will find a way to have that abortion, which is 100 times more dangerous than just going to a medical facility and having it done by a doctor. Like, you're not protecting anyone by making it illegal.
Yeah.
Because you will find a way to do it.
I think there just needs to be rules and restrictions to make it what's the word? Words are hard. Make it logical and not just a whim kind of a thing.
There are people that literally like sleep around, get pregnant, and then think, oh, I can just have an abortion, it's fine.
Someone actually said this, I can't remember who, but it was this thing, like, a girl would just get pregnant because she didn't like to take pills, she didn't like condoms either, and she would get pregnant, and she could just go and do a lot of abortions, because she could, it wasn't illegal, but at the same time, I'm like, one, you're ruining your body with the amount of abortions you're doing. You're most likely not going to be able to have a kid when you want one, when you're older, because they practically take a spoon, shove it inside of you, and try to take the fetus from your your uterus, and they take bits of that as well. I don't know if they know what they're getting themselves into, with this thing, but it's like
It's not talked
dangerous.
about. Like, when we had sex ed in school, we were never talked about abortions. Like, we were never told, if you go and have one, this is the possibility. Like,
Same actually,
they just
same.
make it legal or illegal. They don't talk about it. If they made it completely legal everywhere, but then said, hey, you have to have a valid reason. It has to be a result of rape. It has to be because you've got told by a doctor it will have one of these few conditions, or it has to be because it will kill you. Like, then, fair enough. If you make it just legal because, hey, we don't like abortion, we're just going to make it illegal anyway, then there are people that will just go and literally have like a back alley abortion and will probably end up dying from infection or anything else. Like, that's no safer.
I feel like one of the conditions of the abortion would be like, let's say there should be a few instances where you can have an abortion because, one, you're too young, you made a mistake, one time, or you feel like you're too young and you can't take care of a child, like you fear for the child more than you fear for having that child, like the conditions you can give, like, oh, you're 17, you would like a child, but at 17 you're conscious enough, I don't have a job, I haven't finished school, I can't provide for this child. There can be that, and there can be a limit of like 1 or 2 abortions for that reason, but then you already did it once, so don't make it a second time, like learn something like that, because there are people who get pregnant by mistake, a condom breaks, stuff like that, and they're physically healthy, they can, but then they can't take care of the kid when it comes. Then someone asked, pro-life or pro-choice?
I mean, always choice. Like I said, it's always the choice of not just the mother. Like, there's people who say like no uterus, no opinion. I think in certain times that's perfectly, like, if you are 15 and your boyfriend is 15 and you are pregnant and you want to have an abortion and the guy turns around and says no, then your opinion is not valid, sir. Please go away. We're both 15, you do not understand what you're saying. But I've completely lost my train of thought because now I'm just angry.
I think I'm pro-choice, but it's the woman's choice. It's her that's gonna have to go through it. It's her that's gonna have to take the kid to term. It's her that's gonna have to go through all this shit.
Yeah.
Like, the guy can want that kid all he wants, but if she doesn't want to, it's her choice.
And
I also don't think, though, that disability is an excuse to have an abortion, in my opinion.
Depends on how.
Like I said,
yeah.
if that child's never going to be able to do anything, like not even breathe without a machine, and you aren't a doctor and you can't care for that properly, then I think it's your choice.
Yeah.
Obviously, there are people that go through with it, and they chose that life, and that's up to them. I don't think you should be pushed into, because there are people that are pushed into it. They said like, oh, your child's going to be born with such and such, we advise you to have an abortion. Like that, no, don't do that shit. It's your choice. If you want it, then go ahead.
Yeah.
But then there's certain disabilities that's like, it's not going to affect the child that much. Like, it's manageable.
Yeah, like
I think it's just like it's a weird one, because like a kid could be born with a life expectancy of like 5 years, but like he could outlive that. Like,
that's what I said with the possibility, though.
Yeah.
It's a possibility. And the thing is, Red said, speaking of which, when a person is only living in such conditions, living of a machine, unable to speak, eat, or breathe on their own, when would you say it's okay to pull the plug? Because you're gonna realize this is not gonna get better, and you practically kill it after years of suffering, You didn't do it, you didn't make an abortion, but you still take that decision to not let it suffer anymore, which is so sad to think about. And I get it, but just,
Like I said, you shouldn't be pushed into an abortion if you're told the child's got such and such disability. I think that's where it becomes unfair. That because this happened to my friend who was heavily pregnant, had all of the tests, everything was fine, then all of a sudden had another test. They're like, oh, your child there's a possibility, a very small possibility, it might have cerebral palsy. we advise you to have an abortion before it's too late. Like that? No. You don't say that to someone, it's their choice. If they are told, because you have to now, they don't just do the test without you saying yes to it. So you could not have the test to test for all these disabilities. If you willingly say, yes, please test because it runs in my family, or, you know, I've got this certain gene that it could cause this disability, go ahead and have the test. It's then your choice to decide, okay, money-wise, I cannot afford to pay for all of this medical stuff. It depends on the area as well. Like in America, you would have to pay for all of that stuff yourself. If it's going to bankrupt your family and you've already got other kids to worry about, then fair enough. If you physically cannot care for that because you've got 2 jobs already, fair enough. It's completely your choice to have that abortion no matter what is wrong with the child.
Yeah, and I feel like at the end of the day, is like, it's your body. Like, okay, I feel like it gets to the point where religion is gonna get into it, or like personal beliefs. It is gonna be murder, you know, at one point. But it's the thing, like, don't hate on them. It's their choice. They're aware of that. So most of them, I assume they are, you know. And it's just like, it's like, I guess it's a touchy subject, you know, and especially when you're never in that position, we can't say, the feelings always play a big part in such thing, you know.
Yeah.
Then Matt asked, like, what if the girl wants the kid but the guy doesn't? Thing is, what I wanted to say earlier is, girls, like mothers, leave their child way harder than the dad would, you know, because they carried that child for 9 months. They made that bond with it. The guy doesn't,
was there for a few minutes.
Scoop away, you know, like, it's easier, I guess. So if the girl says, I want the baby, it doesn't matter what you say, because practically that baby is gonna stay with her. Okay, not baby, but the kid is gonna stay with her for the rest of her life. Because a child and, like, a parent is way stronger of a bond than, like, a possible relationship. That child is not a possibility to be your child. It's actually yours, you know? Like,
yeah.
It's like, no, if the girl wants the kid, yeah. If the girl doesn't want the kid, it's her choice. Because I'm pretty sure, you know, she still has to breastfeed that kid for, like, quite a few months, and the guy can't do that, even if he wanted a kid, you know? Things they aren't ready for.
Something else about that, you said, like, you know, if the guy wants the kid but the girl doesn't, then it's her choice to have the abortion. There's always that chance that she's doing it just to be spiteful. That she's literally trying to make that guy angry because they're in an argument or something, and then say, fine, I'm having an abortion. Then it's like, well, no, that guy should have some input. You cannot just what makes me mad is when a girl gets pregnant, doesn't tell her boyfriend or the one night stand she was with or anything, and just has the abortion without even talking to him. Especially if it's a relationship, because you have to carry that for the rest of your life, knowing if you ended up marrying this guy, that you were pregnant at one point with their child, and they do it without even talking to them. Like, yes, they shouldn't get to decide, like, no, you're definitely not having an abortion, or yes, I'm forcing you to have one, but they should at least get some sort of input into. Yes, hello.
I'm sorry, my camera's foggy. I don't know how to go foggy in. I'm sorry. My Karen powers are active. It's still foggy. I'm sorry. Keep going.
It's fine.
I think if a guy... Oh, it's so stupid, but I think if a guy gets a girl pregnant and she wants to keep it, it's kind of his right. It's kind of his duty. Like, he fucked up. He made the mistake. He should be around to fix it or to help with it. But at the same time, do you really want a guy to father a kid that's gonna hate it? Like, that's just asking for an abusive.
That's the sort of conversation you would need to have, because if it's from the one night stand, you don't even know the guy on a personal level.
Don't expect anything of him.
And you want to keep the kid. That's fine. If he says, okay, I respect your decision, I will help. That's when you start dating. You have 9 months to get to know each other. If it's not working out, then there's visitation. Like, that's it.
I also think that like if you're like, let's just pull out here. If you're pregnant, if you've got to the stage of pregnant and having to decide whether you get an abortion or not, you need to grow up. You're officially being an adult. These are adult choices, which also means, well, one, the guy needs to grow up too, and he needs to own up to his mistakes, and he needs to be there for the kid and for you. But also, if the guy decides he doesn't want to, then it's your choice from there on. Like, I think the guy should have to, or should have some right or feeling in him to want to look after this kid.
Yeah.
But also, if it's clear and you have had the discussion that he doesn't want the kid, he doesn't want to be part of it, then one, he's an asshat and he needs to check his life out. But also, two, then that's you going forward. That's if you want to go ahead and not have the abortion, that's your
You need to be
adult life
prepared
choice.
to be a single mother.
Yeah, exactly. You've made that adult life choice. You don't go complaining to him once it's born, being like, "Oh, but it's here now."
Yeah.
Like, you made the choice.
Where's my child support, like that sort of thing? No, if they don't want to be in that child's life, they shouldn't be forced to pay child support. I feel like.
Now, as fucked up as that is, because it is fucked up, he's part of it as much as you are. He's putting you through this. He's fucked up, and he should be able to own up to it. But if you know the choices, and you have had the adult conversation, then you need to be an adult about it. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
So
I feel like there's always a lot more pressure on the woman to do the growing up, though, because obviously they're the one that's got to carry the child, give birth, look after that child, even if the guy drops out. Like, there's no one else to fall back on. The guy could easily turn around and say, actually, you know what? I'm out. I don't want to grow up yet. I'm still a child myself. Do not want to do it. Everything's on you.
Another reason not to have one-night stands.
Yeah. So
have sex with people you trust.
There's this thing. So Matt said, but what if the guy thinks they aren't ready for it? Red said, what if you were married in a stable financial situation, accidentally have the kid, but the guy doesn't want to raise the kid yet? James said, I
that's
think
always a tricky situation.
women should all have all rights to whether to keep the baby or not. And then Red said, but what say if only the guy's the only one that has a job between them and will probably have to pay all the bills? What say the situation the guy and the girl are married, they had sex, did all the contraception, and were condom accidentally happened and the girl got pregnant, girl wants to keep the kid, guy doesn't.
Just to grow up.
I mean,
but also, it's a hard.
The last one, because they tried everything to not have the kid. They both didn't want it. Like, they used the contraception, they used condoms, they used everything. That was an actual accident. Like, no one wanted that kid. While you don't wear a condom or you don't get pills, like, there's the chance of it. While with every protection thing, there's no chance. But there was an accident, That's an actual thing. I feel like that's where the thing is more creepy. More like... No, that's a bad word. Don't take that. It's just bad. Yeah, it's complicated, And if the girl wants to keep the kid, I feel like in a marriage, because you do share the funds, let's say, and one of them wants to keep the kid and the other doesn't. Let's say the woman keeps the kid. That's gonna be harder because you're not doing that on your own. You're married. Your husband is gonna have to deal with the kid, even if he never wanted, like, that's the thing where your situation is a burden on him, which I don't feel like it's right, because you no longer can take that alone when like, he has no choice in this, if he wants to not have a kid, he has to leave you practically. And while this is a marriage, it's like more serious than a relationship or one night stand. When you're young and you have a kid, and it's like, Matt said it blurs the line. Yeah, there's so many variables,
It's like you could, if you're... You go.
Oh god. I think
Very good topic now.
Oh, it's not. I think if if you're married to someone and you have had these talks about kids, maybe you just want kids someday, but you're doing all you can to not have kids right now, and she wants to keep the kid and he doesn't, then that's fucking tough, and he needs to grow up and accept that there's going to be a kid. If it's the other way around, then it's unfortunate and it's her choice. But also the whole thing of like if you are married and if you are married and don't want kids, then why are you having sex? It's just a risk of it. But also, say you do want to have sex, but you both agree that you don't want kids.
Yeah, take a vasectomy or something.
Then have the abortion or do the vasectomy or whatever. But if it suddenly becomes that there is a kid and she wants to keep it, then he needs, in my opinion, he needs to grow up and just get ready to have a kid. Like that's just, there's no going about it.
I mean,
I don't agree that a guy should leave just because, like, a guy should never leave because of a kid. In my opinion, I think that's the most scumbag thing you can do, other than rape.
I also think it's a bit like sometimes just staying together just for the kids is just as toxic.
Yeah.
Because if you're purely not getting a divorce because you've got kids together, but you hate each other now, there will come a time when you start to resent those kids. You start to resent, even the woman might start to have feelings of, why did I go ahead with a pregnancy that he didn't want? Because now he hates me. Why did I do this? It's very much like, it depends on personal circumstances. I don't think people should be seen as bad parents if they decide to get a divorce, or if they decide to stay together for the kids, but both sides can easily be seen as toxic.
I think it's different if... See, that's why I wanted to specify that if they do want kids eventually, just not right now. Because that shows that they do want to have a family and they do want to have a kid, so it's less likely to start the toxic, oh, we're just together because of the kids. Like, they wanted a family at some point. They love each other. It just happened earlier than they expected.
Then that's when you need to strap on your big boy pants and actually like accept that
now if you
it didn't go to plan, but
yeah,
deal with it.
Matt said, too young, married or not, rich or poor, responsible or not, and they're like that anymore. Yeah, there's like a lot of things. It's like, I feel like
everyone's different circumstances change things. There's no cookie cutter response to this about whether it should be allowed or not. Because even the tiniest change can literally change everything.
I honestly think that, the level their relationship is really matters. Because, like, if the woman wants to keep the child and the man doesn't, and he's willing to leave just because she wants to keep the baby, that means he was never fully involved in the relationship. Which I feel like it's a trigger sign for the woman, like, oh, okay, so you don't, like, this is your kid, like, we're family, we're gonna get this through and everything. And it's just like, no, because I have a job or stuff, just, it's fucked up. I don't know.
Yeah, if you've said to your partner, like, hey, I want kids with you one day, you've got married on the premise that one day you will have kids. Yes, it may have happened sooner than you'd planned, but nothing ever goes to plan. You don't make a plan in a relationship. There's no point, because it's not gonna go that way. If you still then decide, hey, actually, I don't want to be with you anymore because you had this kid too early and you didn't have the abortion when I asked you to, then no, they were gonna leave you anyway. They clearly went into this relationship saying they wanted kids purely to get you to marry them, and then they were probably going to change their mind eventually. Like, if they're not willing to grow up a little bit faster than, like, if they're adult enough to get married and decide they want to spend the rest of their life with this person, then they should be grown up enough to accept, oh, okay, it was an accident, but hey, we've got a kid now. Like, they should be adult enough to accept that, not just think, you know what, I'm going to leave you with all the responsibility, I'm just going to go.
I think the biggest thing that we can all agree on is that people need to grow up and be adults when it comes to sex.
Yeah.
If you're having sex, even with protection, with the risk of pregnancy, you better be grown up enough to accept any outcome from that. whether it's accidentally getting an STD, accidentally getting someone pregnant, or getting pregnant yourself. Anything like that, you need to be grown up enough to accept that. That's
Hi
a
Mario, we're
possible
talking about
outcome
serious stuff.
to the
Hello.
fun times you're having.
Yeah. Like, it's this thing, like, what I don't... may call me old-fashioned or anything. The generations now start having sex so early. And it's one thing, their body's not developed enough. Secondly, they don't understand... Okay, they might know what protection is. Okay, that's fine. Thing is, if that protection isn't protecting you and you get pregnant, what you can get an abortion. Okay, that thing is gonna damage you later. For example, my cousin, she never had an abortion. She's trying to have kids. I think she had 3 pregnancies. The problem is the fetus like stays on her uterus, but at one point it just falls from it. Like, it never fully sticks.
It doesn't cling on.
Yeah.
It doesn't hold on for dear life.
And then the last pregnancy she had, she like started to bleed. She went to the doctor. They're like, oh, okay, well, take this medicine. It's just gonna stick the fetus, And she does that, and then at one point she starts to feel sick. She starts, she goes to a checkup, and they're saying, oh, well, it's stuck. It's just not evolving anymore. So they practically had to give her an abortion, and that just means they injured that wall even more with their scoopy scoop. So, so...
Yeah. But again, they don't teach you that. They don't teach you what an abortion is or how they do it. They don't even teach you, like, what a miscarriage is. Like, you don't know any of that. Like, my friend had a miscarriage, and she went into that completely blind. She didn't know what was going to happen. She didn't know how long it was going to last. She had no idea. They basically just gave her a pill and sent her home and said, okay, this will just start things off, and you might bleed for a few hours, and then, sorry, but no more baby. That didn't happen. It was more like an 11-hour situation of intense pain. And even the doctor didn't tell her that. Like, you don't know. You don't taught any of this stuff. Like, and yes, obviously the guy doesn't have to go through it, but I think the guy should be taught it as well. He should be able, if he's willing to say, I think you should have an abortion, he should know what that entails. He should know how that abortion happens and what his girlfriend or one-time partner or wife has to go through, and then he might change his mind.
Yeah, James said curiosity is a part of teenagers' nature. True. And then read a creepy story. So a woman that works as a staff cleaner or cleaner in a 5-star hotel, she went in a rich guy's dump and found a used condom, impregnated herself with it, gets pregnant, births the kid, and sues the rich dude for child support and won the case.
Yeah, I heard that story too. Yeah, it's fucked up.
Yeah.
Don't know why that happened though. Because people are dumb! Fucking idiots!
Discard
Honestly,
your condom properly! Burn it!
Not just that, like, the law is so messed up as well.
Who the fuck was this woman impregnating herself with
I
this
don't know,
rich
but
guy's...
she's like 500 IQ or something. I don't know.
She doesn't even know if he's got anything. Like, he could be sterile, so she won't even get pregnant, but she could get an STD.
Yeah, and like in 9 months, that dude could die or lose everything, So.
I hate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the fact that the law went on her side, even though they didn't even sleep together, technically, she raped him. He had no consent in that.
She raped his cum. Yes.
I mean, technically, that was part of him. It was still fertile enough, so it was clearly disgustingly recent. He did not consent to that.
System's broken.
It's a very blurred line, but he did not consent to having any part of him, like physical or not, inside of her. He did not consent to that.
Like, if this happens and like, it's obviously his kid. Thing is, it's her word against his word, and she has the child. She could have just said, "Oh, he raped me," because, it's like, then whose side are you taking on? Like, she has the proof that she got pregnant with his kid. He has no proof he never did that. It's like, I feel like it's really strange, and the law had to take a side, and no matter the side, it's wrong somehow. Because like, oh, and if they take the dude's side, there's no proof he didn't do it. you know? Because who the fuck would believe she's that insane that she uses a condom that's in the trash? Oh my god, I'm just now thinking of all the germs that are in the trash. No, I'm not. Yeah.
Like, the worst part is she had that child purely for money as well.
Yeah. And she's gonna use that money to raise the child. Plot twist.
Will she though? That's the thing.
Yeah.
More than likely she'll use a portion of that money. The amount of child support she would be able to get is more than enough to raise a child on.
Yeah.
Comfortably. Like, she could easily raise that child on her salary. Then any child support she is getting is extra spending money for her. Like, the fact that she went that far to do it, she doesn't care about a child. That's just an outcome to get money.
Yeah. Matt said, you know, her kid was a result of wanting money, and that's sad. Yeah. It's just fucked. And
what's sad is it's in the news and that child's eventually going to find out.
Yeah.
And that's when the child sues the mother for all of that lost child support.
You're a dumpster kid.
Oh, literally.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
So Red said, schools don't teach important stuff in life, things you might actually use. There should always be an abortion briefing. I mean, yeah. The thing is, in Romania, we don't have sex education. Thing is,
no, we barely do as well.
There was a talk about it, and then people were so repulsed about it. How could you teach this? You know? And like, excuse me? Like, where do you want your kids to get this information? The internet. Okay, yeah, you can get information from the internet, but it's so, like, they can learn so many things. And the funny thing...
And it's not accurate. Anyone can write anything on the internet.
Yeah.
You can't trust people's information, because you don't know. If you're, like, 13-year-olds and searching that for the first time, you're not going to know that that's not a genuine article, that it was just some random person writing that.
Yeah.
Like...
I've learned so many things from guys, like from my class. Oh, you know, this is just like a really bad example. Oh, 69 is such a funny number. And I'm like, why? And they would say, oh, is, you know, that. And I'm like, oh, okay. You know, like, you learn a lot of stuff from boys, at least like from my experience. And I feel like a lot of girls do that. And it's just like, it's interesting. But yeah, schools don't teach that.
It's
once when I was in work, it was when I started. I was 15 when I started, and there was this guy there who's maybe about 19, 20-ish maybe, and we ended up working together. And something he said to me when he first said it, I was an oblivious 15-year-old. I hadn't searched this stuff. I didn't know what he was going on about, but he was talking to me about how he was Italian, so he was good with his hands. And at the time I was just like, okay.
You can make pizza!
And now, yeah, my brain was like, instantly, pizza, pasta, you're great, okay, brilliant, marry me. But now I think back and I'm just like, why was I not taught these sort of things in school to be able to know that he's being a perv? Because again, that's a dangerous situation that I could have got myself into. Because I wouldn't have known what the hell he was going for.
I mean, obviously, I don't think adults are gonna teach you all the creepy stuff or the pervy stuff that teenagers are gonna tell you, but, you know, just, there's a lot of stuff that when I hear, I'm like, what the fuck is that? Because I don't Google shit like that, and then I Google, I'm like, why did I Google this? So, yeah.
You regret everything.
Yeah. Red said, if you don't want school to teach sex ed, then parents should do it, but funny enough, mostly they don't because parents tend to avoid sex topics. It's like, you don't want to teach your kid about it, you don't want school to teach it about it, so let porn sites teach your kid about it, which, you know, is like...
No. I'm gonna be the sort of parent that literally teaches my child all of that stuff. Including, like, buys them their first alcohol so they can try it without having to lie to me about it.
Yeah.
Like, you do that.
I thought you were going somewhere different with that. I was like, oh, wait, what's she gonna
I can see your face! Like,
I was
okay, rein it in.
I was terrified.
Oh, I'm gonna teach my kid how to drink.
I'm gonna teach my kid everything. I'm gonna buy him his first.
I'll buy him his first prostitute.
Oh yes, you're gonna watch them and you can teach your. No. Yeah.
Buy your son his first condoms and your daughter her first vibrator or some shit. I was like, oh please don't.
Damn. Yeah, Matt
Like,
said.
these are the sites I recommend. Let me know if you need a hand.
If you need ad blocker, just hit me up. You know, you need VPN. You need to. You need the FBI not to see you. Just talk to your mom. You know, you're
This
cute.
is how you go into incognito mode. I know all too well. It's okay, child.
I've used it as well. You know, it's trustworthy. It gets my engines. Yeah.
So creepy.
Matt
No.
said in middle school they had us to take care of a mechanical baby to simulate the act of caring for a real one. My god, it was terrible. I think that would be a good thing to scare young people to not want a baby, you know, and be more careful to see like how hard it is to take care of a baby, because I feel like something, oh, like they're so cute and they're so talking and they're like goo gaga and blah blah blah. There you don't realize you have to change a diaper, you have to feed them, you have to not sleep the night because they don't sleep the night, so you know. Yeah.
I think kids who have like younger siblings,
They might
when
understand.
when they're like 8 or 9 and then they've got a newborn baby in the house, I feel like they are more likely to be responsible because they know how loud that child cries at night because they're old enough to understand.
Yeah.
Like, and they might, I mean, my friend's got, I don't know, 10-year-old and a newborn, so the 10-year-old is like, oh, I'm not going to be having kids for a long time because it's had to change a diaper, it's had to wake up to 3 a.m. cries, and it's instantly like, oh, okay, maybe I don't do this when I'm 15.
Yes. I mean, you know, honestly, props to the teenagers that have an accidental baby, or they do actually want to start a family, and they take that responsibility on. You know, because
I know a lot of teenage
yeah.
parents who are better parents than adult parents.
Yeah, because they're like hip. No, I'm kidding. It's just more like they understand.
They're down with the kids, literally.
Yes. Is the thing with like, there's like a. I don't want to say meme, but there's like a thing where like, you know, teenagers today are gonna be such good parents because they've dealt with like depression and stuff like this, and they don't understand. But I'm like, I feel like we would be better because in our time we did talk about this. Well, I'm pretty sure our parents dealt with like depression and everything, but it wasn't talked about it. So
it was
they
taboo. You didn't talk about this stuff.
They don't feel, you know, normal to talk about it. Because when I say my mom, oh, you know, I feel a bit depressed, and she's like, oh, well, you just don't do any, you know, you don't do anything, you have a lot of time to think about stuff, and I'm like, it's not how it works, but okay, you know.
They come up with excuses.
Yeah, it's not necessarily excuse, but it's like, you know, she's like, you know, sometimes she says, I'm gonna get depression if I sit longer, and I'm like, don't do some
away
work.
From the reason.
But I feel like that's how they grew up, some of them,
I think this generation is gonna be shit parents.
Yeah, some
By
point,
this generation,
yeah.
do you mean like 15-year-olds now, or
us?
Yeah.
I mean us.
I think we might be alright. But I mean, like 15-year-olds now, I think they're gonna suck as parents.
Yeah.
Our parents went through shit. Like they went through some serious shit. We haven't went through fuck all. Like we went through Corona. Oh no. We went through bushfires in fucking Australia. We didn't do shit. I mean, people in Australia did, but that's sad. That's genuinely sad. I'm not playing that down at all. But our parents went through serious shit, and their parents went through fucking world wars. 15-year-olds are getting upset because they don't get McDonald's toys, or are fucking depressed because their parents won't buy them Microsoft vouchers.
I guess
it's just they're not gonna be as good. They might understand and be more sharing with kids about sex and shit, but they're just not gonna be as good parents. I apologize for the 15.
I feel like when you say like, oh, the 15-year-olds haven't gone through shit, like they haven't gone to work or stuff like this through war, you know, it's more like, okay, they haven't gone through something that affected the entire world, but they are going through things that are like mentally, you know, something that it doesn't matter on the outside world, because it doesn't matter if there's a war, there's Corona, you know, it can be the perfect day and you can still deal with depression and shit. And like, I feel like that's something our generation is gonna be good with, emotions maybe, or we're just gonna grow up really fucked up, I don't know. But
we're gonna go really fucked up.
Yeah, both, honestly, because they're like extremes and everything.
My opinion. I would rather take if I was to pick my mom and dad, I would rather take someone that didn't understand mental illness, but had experienced proper world-changing life events, than someone that had an easy life, like physical easy life with no big world catastrophes or big life events, other than they had mental illness. Now, I'm not downplaying mental illness. Genuinely a big problem with, especially with the current generations, and more in younger kids. Like that's a genuine thing, and I feel sorry for anyone that is going through that. But not as good parents, in my opinion. I would rather have the parents that have went through big life events like wars or like the depression, because they can teach me. I can go to therapy and get doctors to teach me how to deal with my mental illness or to help me deal with my mental illness, but my parents can teach me big life events that a doctor couldn't.
Yeah, but then on the other side of that thing with like, you're talking to a history nerd now, so this is gonna get intense.
Hi, thank you
but...
for the resub. Hi, how you doing?
You've opened the floodgates now. You said World Wars.
I was
with especially World War II, all of the history books, they teach you about these great struggles and all of these amazing things that happened, and how, you know, the world had to pull together and like support each other, and people were against people and everything, like amazing, and how everyone went through this really trying time. That's a very it's obviously not like minority, but the majority of people
take a break, have a Kit Kat,
go through these amazing world-changing events. They were pretty much oblivious or untouched. Like in the UK alone, obviously there were places like London that were bombed a lot, and all of the kids had to be evacuated and everything like this. Everywhere else in the UK, they're not really talked about in the history books because they were pretty much untouched by it all. So by that logic, would they make shit parents because they didn't go through this amazing World War bombing situation?
I think whether you were in the heart of the London bombings or whether you weren't, it's a world war. Whether it's in the history books that some farm yoke in Northern Ireland who never actually saw any action at all, whether he went and saw the action or not, he felt the world war. He saw his friends or troops get recruited. He found out about the shortages in materials or supplies. He knew what was going on. He knew about people dying. He knew that it was over years of conflict. Like, that's not something that you just live oblivious to, whether you're a wee old farm yoke sitting in a tractor somewhere. You know shit's happening. You know that the world is changing.
But then a lot of people, like you're talking about, that aren't like, they weren't in the heart of the bombings and everything. They knew, they were sent news, so they knew what was going on, but they didn't really experience it firsthand. It's the same sort of thing with like COVID at the moment. There's people that are on the front lines and they're going to say this is a world-changing event and this is going to damage a lot of people just like a war did, because the people that went through like World War II, they could still go outside, majority of them. They weren't under a lockdown situation 24/7. So it's completely different scenario, but at the same time it is a world-changing event.
Yes, it is.
I feel like
for different people on different levels, because there's people that still don't think COVID is a real thing. There's people that are still completely technically oblivious to it. They know that it's happening, but they haven't seen it. None of their family or friends have been affected by it. They've still got work to go to. They're like, oh, it's not a big deal. You know, it's fine. I can go to the pub tomorrow now. It's fine. But then there's people that are on the front line.
But it's a completely, in my opinion, yes, true. Sorry, just before you talk, do you know there's a little hand? You can raise your hand. There's a raise hand feature on Zoom.
What?
Yeah, hold on. Let me try and find it. Drew, Drew, talk while I try and find this again.
I found it.
Yeah, like how cool is that?
Put my thumb up.
Anyway, continue.
Okay. Moving on.
Oh, I can't take my thumb down.
You said that, your parent. I feel like with the World War and everything, I feel like it's more of a grandparents thing. Because my parents, didn't tell me shit about the war. Like they lived a few important moments, but I don't think like that was something that influenced the way they raised me. The thing that was more prominent was like the communism, because we got rid of it quite late, I think, in like 70s or 80s. Don't quote me on that. I have no idea. I don't know history. I'm sorry, Latte. I'm really sorry.
It's fine. It's fine. I forgive you.
And like my mom still says like it was better during the communism. I can see ups and I mostly see downs, because our country in the communism era, they were like, it was literally just our country, because we wouldn't have news from outside, and what was from outside, it was kind of like, what do you call it, the black market of information, because we just knew what was going in our country. Oh, our president is so good, he's so great, he's so blah blah blah. We were forbidden fucking bananas. We couldn't get that. Like, it was such a luxury. Bananas, coffee, cigarettes, it was such a luxury. And you know, the president was telling, oh, we're such a great country, we're doing great. At the same time, we were not that great, because we closed our country from all the other countries, which was good, because we were trying to go with our resources, but at the same time it was bad because we were not evolving with the other countries, you know. And she said like, oh, it was better back then because a lot of people had jobs, a lot of people had that. But I feel like, okay, that was a thing then where they would take homeless people, they would give them a house, like an apartment. You work, if you don't work, you go to jail, you go to like, you do work for the country practically, not paid, not anything, you just dig stuff. That was a good thing. They would try to make homeless people work, but the bad thing is we were so caged in, and I still feel like we have repercussions from that. We have so many closed-minded people, and I feel my mom still suffers from that kind of, and my dad as well. For example, LGBTQ was not a thing until like 5 years ago, I think I would want to say. Like I'm pretty sure we have a lot of racists in my country, because we don't have black people, we don't have people of color here. And like my mom says she doesn't like black people because she doesn't like how they look, and I'm like, great, you know. It's more like the thing, we were so closed. And my country is an old country, because everyone that, you know, everyone that goes 18 and they can go study or work in other country, they go there. We're left with old people. And that just makes it worse for us to level up, kind of, to just, you know, evolution and stuff. And it's just bad. And I feel like my mom still thinks it was better back then. Well, you know, politics is shit. And the thing is, you said like the people who lived major events are better at teaching. I feel like the major events, they might teach us something, but at the same time, that's on a big scale, when at a small scale, like the feelings are something that we all deal with. And I feel like that's why it's better for the parents to know how to deal with it. Because for example, you know, there are people who their parents don't talk at all about their feelings, and the kids just get depressed because I can't talk, I can't tell you I don't like this, please leave me alone. You know, the parent is like, no, you live under my roof, you do what I say. It doesn't matter if that makes you depressed, anxious, if you want to just cry in your pillow, they don't care. Like, go do work, go do what I say. Which I feel like it's such a toxic thing, because there's not a back and forth, it's just like, do what I say, you know. And that's what the thing that I think some parents from the older generations are stuck on. You know, just do what I say, because I'm the adult, I know what to do. And
it's almost like the demanding respect thing again.
Yeah. And it's
like, I've been through this big event,
yeah,
you should respect me no matter what.
From our perspective, Virgo problems may not be as grand, but from our perspective, that may be the biggest problem you have to face. To keep up major events may teach or also emotionally stunt growth as well, to be fair. You know, like, the major events, just a part of the population takes part of the war. Like, a lot of people took part of, but there was like the side that didn't, that was left behind, you know. And the people that took part of the war, a big majority died, you know. They were in the books and everything, and they were left with traumatized soldiers and stuff. And like, yeah, appreciate for listening, Matt, so carefully.
I I still stick with that. You can't downplay how important things like the world wars, the repression, or the one where the market collapsed and they had to figure
Great
out
Depression?
that one. I feel like you just can't downplay those big events, and it's those events that learning from those events and experience those events allow you to teach your kids so that those events don't happen again, in my opinion. Whereas
if I definitely you shouldn't downplay them, definitely not.
Yeah, I'm not playing the events themselves.
No, there's people that went through that, who went through World War II or whatever, who have been blinded by that. They think that nothing will ever be as bad as that because they went through it. But like, if I was assaulted tomorrow, wouldn't change the world at all. You know, that wouldn't be a big world event, but it would be crippling to me. That would be a huge world-changing event to me because it affected me that way. So it does affect, even if it's a worldwide event, it can affect different people different ways. I think a lot of people did become better parents because they can then teach their child, like, I went through this and we came out stronger, this is how you can do it too. But then there are people that are blinded by that who say, I went through this experience, you must listen to me, nothing you ever do will ever beat what I do. There's the people that take it the complete opposite direction, who turn it into a negative thing. They're like, well, I went through World War II, what have you done with your life? Like, they teach their child that they've got to be super strong, or they've got to repress their emotions because that's what they had to do in World War II.
Or they have to go through World War III, and that's going to compete with the World War II.
They're in a completely different situation.
We almost got to.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still time.
2020 is not done.
So back to the point
of drop a big bombshell.
Who do we think is going to be the better parents? The 15-year-olds now, or the ones that we have, or us? I still think that my parents and their parents are better parents than the 15-year-olds now. Unless, you know what?
In some ways, yeah.
Fair enough. If shit happens in 2020, fair play to them. They're winning.
Yeah.
But I don't think. Now, I'm still not downplaying mental illness. I want to clarify that. But it's the topic that came up. But if I had to pick whether to have mental illness experience or to have those big life events that affected the world and not just me as an individual, I'd rather take learning from the experience of the world than the mental illness. Now that might just be me, but
yeah, I think you definitely need to learn from history. I think a lot of people brush aside history now. The fact that the fact that in schools history is now like a subject you have to choose. It's not something taught like compulsory. It's not like maths or English that's taught, you know, everyone has to learn it. You have to choose. You have to be interested in it to learn it. So you can definitely learn from history, but on the same wavelength, there's a lot of people that went through World War II or went through these big events that involved violence that then grew up to be parents who think that violence is the answer, or were so traumatized by what they went through that they just completely changed as a person and didn't know how to act as a nice person anymore. Like, the same way that there's 15-year-olds now who I would not trust to be parents. Oh my goodness, no, please never reproduce. And there's a lot of those around now. But there's also some that I think would be amazing parents purely because they have been a 15-year-old trying to grow up into an adult during a time that my parents haven't faced a lockdown like this. My grandparents haven't faced a lockdown like this. They may have been through World War II, but they've never faced a virus that they can't fight with violence. Like,
I'll give you that one.
There's no way to stop this, basically. It's an unwinnable fight at the moment. And there's people that are going through it now who don't get the luxury of growing up slowly. The same way in World War II, there were kids that went through, they didn't get the luxury of growing up slowly. They went from being a child one day to being an adult the next day because of the situation that was put upon them that they had no choice in. It doesn't make them a better parent or a worse parent. It depends on how they personally react to that. Whether they take that experience they went through and use it as a positive and say, hey, I went through this world-changing experience and I came out of it. Here's some positive news. Or they can turn around and say, you know what? Fuck the world. I'm going to be an asshole for the rest of my life.
I mean, the same is with the war as well. You know, Red said, I don't think generation affects how you raise kids. There were dicks in 1970, there are dicks in 2020. It's the same.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I don't trust the 15-year-olds that are now to be good parents, because they were not raised in the between. I trust the people that are in their 20s now, because we were in that generation that didn't grow up with a phone. We didn't grow up with the social media. We grew up normally, as you can, we grew up socializing, going outside, playing, school, sex not being a big thing, at least in my country, at least where I was. Like, I had the time to grow up in my own terms, in my own time. And I feel like that was important. And then, yes, technology clashed with me while I was growing up. While the newer generation, they grew up with technology. It wasn't like technology grew up with us, And I feel like we, the 20-something people, would be somewhat good parents because we have the beliefs and what our parents taught us, But if we combine that with what we learn now, what we see that is something that is damaging us and damages the newer generation. And I feel like with the old generation, with the violence, my parents were the type of parents that thought, but I don't want to say violence, there's like a saying like beating is ripped out of heaven or something. Like, it's good to beat your kids because that's how you educate them. That's how I was raised. And I feel like that's really bad because I can see both me and my brother, and we have such different perspectives of it. I don't hate my mom or dad for doing that to me, while he has some resentment towards them because I understand why they did it. I'm not saying it's good that they did it. It's like a really bad thing. Are you sad for me?
Oh, no, I think it is.
It is.
I think kids do need to get a good slap every so often.
I mean,
anyway, continue.
Yeah, it's more like ever so often. For us, it wasn't really ever so often. It was quite often, let's say, because we were not the best kids, I guess you can say, and then our parents had a lot of stress with my grandma and stuff, so it was quite a bit. I'm not, thing is, we grew up fearing that, we're doing something bad, so we would lie about it, because I don't want to get a slap, so I'm gonna lie about something, and then it would get worse if they found out. So,
bet you're a good liar now, though. Sorry.
Among Us. It's like, this is something the generation should stop, because, and what my mom, I feel like the people in Romania, at least, they don't understand mental illness. My mom still doesn't understand fully what depression is, even if my dad went through it. She didn't really know how to handle him, and I feel like sometimes that made things worse, because she wasn't taking her time, and then at times she was too rushed with him, and they didn't learn properly how to deal with it, because their parents were too busy, like farming and like taking care of the animals and just having a lot of kids and then doing that, and then they didn't have time for that. But I'm pretty sure they were suffering with it, and then our parents suffered by it, and then we suffered somewhat by it. But because we were exposed to social media and talking to other people, learning about everything, that helped us kind of find the help we needed that we didn't necessarily get from parents. We started to understand ourselves sometimes. Some of us did, some didn't, some just are confused. So I guess, I don't trust the 15-year-olds because they grow up too fast, and they grow up fast in the wrong fucking way. They're just too exposed, and
I think when you grow up with social media and you grow up with the fact that, like, because when I was a kid, I didn't care about what I looked like. I didn't think as soon as I wake up, oh my god, I need to do my hair, I need to
put makeup when I'm 13.
Yeah. I didn't think about that stuff because I didn't grow up with social media. But these kids now who are like 12, who have got Instagram and see models on there and they aspire to be that, or they see like YouTubers or streamers who are absolutely gorgeous and they're like, I want to be that when I grow up. And you know, they get eating disorders, they become self-conscious, they want to spend all of their money on everything, and that's an adorable little hand again.
You can continue.
It's kind of sad. Like, they didn't want to grow up with technology, they didn't choose to grow up with technology, but they just happened to be born when technology was all of a sudden this giant boom of, here's everything thrust upon you, here's social media, here's everyone sharing everything to the internet that's there forever. Like, and now they've got to grow up with that, and it's just like, it's a bit sad that now they've got to, they're basically going to be shit humans because of it.
I feel like they're gonna be shit humans because we are making them that, sadly. Like, some of us are kind of giving them those expectations. But yeah, Matt said, can the exposure help these kids like it helped you? I got the exposure way later than they did. And like, I got the exposure they get at 12, I got it at 17, you know? So I was, they get exposure about like sexual stuff. They're 12, I was 17. 17 is more acceptable age, I guess, to learn about those things, think about it. I do think it can help them. It can help them with the confusion or like the fear and worries that I was experiencing when I was older. At the same time, it can raise a lot more questions. You know, I don't think like at 13 you should worry about your sexuality or where you're gonna get married or when you're gonna have sex or who are you gonna be with or stuff like that. It's just like so mind-blowing because they're focusing on the wrong things, I guess. You know, when I wasn't thinking of that until I was, as I said, 17 or something. But you know, with the social media and everything that's going around, it makes them mature way too faster for a small body, kind of, for a young age. So yeah, go.
I think they should definitely
I'm just focusing. You can go on.
You're putting your hand up too. Just talk to the hand. I don't want to listen.
Sorry.
I think they should definitely raise the age of social media. Like, you can get a Facebook when you're 13. You can get an Instagram when you're 13, and it's like, it also should be the parents. I know, but the parents should have more control over their child, like, to definitely make sure they don't have access to this. Like, my friend who's got like, I don't know, God, 7 kids or something stupid now. The oldest has just turned 10, and she's just brought her like this little phone watch thing. It can only call like 3 people that they've programmed into it, so that if she goes off to her friends, she can call her mum or her dad or her nan. I think the only ones programmed into it. She can't text anyone else. She can't call anyone else. But she's let her get a TikTok.
Oh, wait.
So she's saying she doesn't want her to have a phone because she could go and search whatever she wants, but she lets her have a TikTok, and she's allowed a TikTok account on her mum's phone. Now,
yeah, great.
It literally blows my mind that people think that's okay. I don't really know why people think that's okay, because anyone could be on that platform who's a lot older than her, and she's letting her dance in, not like in very provocative ways. Like, it's freaky.
Yeah, I know the TikTok dances. I've seen them. They're just like suggestive moves that are not made for kids. Yeah. And when you see
like,
kids,
she doesn't know what it means. That's the worst part. She's innocent. She's completely innocent. She has no idea what it means, but her mum does, and she still lets her do it. But she won't let her have her own phone just in case she messages people that she shouldn't be messaging or anything like that.
Let strangers stare at her on the internet.
Like, yeah, so she's technically letting her have social media. She thinks she's a good parent because she's not letting her have social media, her own accounts, until she's way older. But she's letting her use her own social media on her mum's phone. That's just as bad. Like, she doesn't have control over that 24/7. Like, but she still thinks that's okay. And like Matt was saying, like they can lie about their age. They could be 11 and say they're 15 and get an account on whatever.
Yeah.
That's when it's the parents' job to say no and make sure that it's not installed. Like my other friend, he checks his daughter's computer. Like she doesn't have her own computer. She's maybe, I don't know, 9. She uses his laptop, but he checks it every single day after she's finished using it. That's fine, but there are parents that literally just let them do whatever.
What does he check it for, though?
Just to make sure that she hasn't installed like any apps that she shouldn't have installed. Because she plays Roblox on it. Pretty much Roblox is the only thing she plays. But
I hope so. Because if she's figured out incognito.
Nah. Roblox is a very like dodgy thing. The fact that it's supposed to be a child's game. Roblox is like a online Minecraft, and it's terrifying. Like some of the things that you see in there, it's like pedo nation. It really is. Yeah, it's kids.
Does he know that? Does he, does his dad, like her dad, knows that this pedo nation, like,
Pretty much, yeah. Like I send him links all the time to different articles, and he's just like, yeah, I've seen about this, but I make sure she's not going on anything that she shouldn't be. Like,
it's not the thing she would go, is the thing they would come to her.
Well, the thing is, because he's made a Roblox account to play with her. But
I mean, he's just trying to protect you. So
whether you're over the age of 13, you have to say that you're over the age of 13, and you don't. If you don't choose this option, you get put into games with only kids that are younger like you. I'm sorry.
People can lie.
He's not going to be honest, is he? He's going to say, I'm under 13, and he's going to get to play the games with all the little kids.
So fucking stupid. No offense.
That's their only defense. That is their only security measure, is to say, I'm over the age of 13. Okay, don't let me play with children. That's their security.
I mean, obviously the game can't do much more than that, but it's like such a stupid way to actually,
I mean, they haven't even released like a statement about this, but Shodo in my chat has just mentioned this, and it reminds me. There was a big article maybe a few months ago because like Roblox has been around for years. Like I used to play it when I was a kid, and it was fine then. It was a perfectly innocent thing. Obviously now it's been overtaken by pedo nation. There's a mother who let her child go on it thinking it was an innocent thing, didn't realize, like, she just happened to glance over one day and see what he was doing on there, and one of the worlds that someone had made, it was like loads of beds, and all the little characters who had gone there had no clothes on, and it was like a sex RP simulation thing. And her child was in it, didn't really know what it was, but he was in that room. And Roblox released a statement, and they didn't take the room down, and there's millions of rooms like that and accounts like that and mini games like that.
I have given up on humanity.
There's one mini game that my friend lets his child play. She's 8, okay? To her, it's innocent. As soon as he told me about this, I was instantly creeped out. It's called Daycare, and you either play as the baby or the adult, and you either spend. She plays it for like 4 hours at a time. She either spends 4 hours sitting in a crib, having another player look after her, or she plays as the mum and looks after another player. And she will type in the chat like she's pretending to be a baby, and the other character will be like, oh, changes your nappy, oh, feeds you a bottle, breastfeeds you, all of this weird shit. And I'm just like, that could be an adult on the other side of that.
I mean, I thought that was going to be a lot worse.
Yeah.
Well, no, it gets worse though, because like you can like pick the character up. Like if she's in the crib, you can pick her up and like put her on a changing table, and people are typing like changes your clothes, puts you in little frilly skirt, and it's just like,
it's creepy.
It goes creepy.
Your friends
should play that for 4 hours with strangers. And like that to me is just like, I don't understand why you would let your child do that with a stranger who you don't know who they are.
I
creeps
just
me out, man.
it's such
I hate
you know?
humanity, and there are people who question me, why don't you want to have a kid? This is one of the reasons, because they're pedophiles. And it's like, this is another subject I wanted to mention. Women being judged for not wanting to have a kid. Like, actually, this is our choice. I don't want to have a kid. And it's not, okay, it might be because I'm selfish, because I don't think I can take care of a kid. But then there's the other thing. If I grow up and I think, oh, I'm mature enough to take care of a kid, I have enough money for that. I'm like, I don't want my kid to live in this fucked up world. It just gets more and more fucked up. Because I can teach her whatever. Like, I can give her the best education possible. Once she leaves the door, I can't do anything. There's the thing. She can say no to strangers. They could not give a fuck about that. There could be kids at school teaching her bad things, saying, oh, this is okay, and they do stuff to her. That's what scares the shit out of me. And I'm like 21, and I'm pretty sure you're scared of this. As adults, we are scared of something like this happen to us. So imagine to a kid, we don't have control over. Like, we know what's good or not. Like, we have an idea of how to defend ourselves. We're mature enough to do so. There's a kid. We tried our best. We cannot control her body to, like, punch them or scream or anything. And that's so scary for me. Because I don't want my kid to go through that. I don't want to go through that with my kid. I don't want to be scared, like, where is she? Where was she doing? No, that's... no, I really...
That's something I almost mentioned when you were talking about, like, abortions and stuff. There was a news article, like, a few years ago about this woman who was 23, maybe 24, was adamant she didn't want kids. Went to the doctor asking if she could be sterilized because she knew she would never want kids. Ever, ever, ever. Nothing would ever change her mind. And the doctor refused because of her age. Basically, she wanted to be able to have sex with no risk because she did not want a child. And the only way to completely guarantee that was either never have sex or be sterilized. And he wouldn't do it because of her age. And she spoke to loads of people, and even like other women, and she was really shocked. She was mainly getting this from women, was saying like, oh, but what if you change your mind? Oh, you'll change your mind eventually. Oh, it's just because you're so young. In a few years' time, you'll definitely want kids. And there was like, they didn't seem to comprehend that there are people out there that do not want kids.
Yeah, I've heard
it's not
of
just
this.
guys that don't want kids. There's women that do not want kids ever, and they're denied. Like, if you're a guy, you can go and get a vasectomy straight away. If you want to, you can go up. They won't say no. But as a woman, you can't go and have a surgery that will mean you never have kids, just in case you change your mind and regret it in the future. It's like, no. I'm an adult. If I don't want kids, if I change my mind, then tough shit. That's my own fault then, isn't it? But I'm pretty sure I know myself, and I don't want them. I should be able to have that surgery.
There's this thing like women are seen as, I don't want to say we're not seen anymore as baby machines, but it's this thing like we as women should have at least a kid, because how can we be a woman without having a kid? That's like womanhood.
That should be the end goal, basically. Get married, have a kid.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's really not the only thing that defines me as a woman, to have a kid or to get married. I'm still a person. If a man doesn't have a kid, fine with him, fine with everyone. If a woman doesn't, just because we have the uterus and we can carry the child, it's not our right. Like, it's not our uterus anymore, like, we can't, it's just, I don't know.
There's a lot of women that argue it on the opposite side, and they're like, well, I can't have kids, so I think it's very selfish of you to choose not to have kids.
I'm not gonna have a kid for you, lady, though, so please excuse me,
It's like, I'm sorry, but there's plenty of other options. If you can't have kids and you want kids, very sorry. That sucks to be you.
Adopt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can adopt. There's surrogacy. There's lots of other things you can try if you are that desperate to have a child and you cannot have one. It may suck for you that you'll never be able to carry, but you cannot turn around to say to another woman that she's selfish for not wanting to have kids just because you can't have it. That's like saying to someone, oh, you're selfish for being able to talk another language just because I can't. Like,
how dare you?
Or someone's blind, how dare you have eyes when I can't see? no, that's completely stupid. But then people think it's okay to say, oh, you're selfish for not having kids when you can. Because you can do it, you should do it.
I think people need to mind their own business.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it's anyone's right to pass comment on that kind of stuff at all. But as for your friend and the doctor, I believe it's within doctors' rights to refuse to refuse doing operations on patients if they believe it's not fit for them. Your friend should have just continued and tried to get a second opinion from another doctor.
Yeah,
it might
she
have just been
went to
up
loads, but it's
might have just been up that doctor's own hole. Maybe it had, I don't know, maybe he had.
Maybe he has some standards or something. Yeah.
I know obviously there are certain doctors who won't do certain things to certain patients, certain ages, which is fine, but it's soon realised that that's like the majority who will just say no to it because of her age.
And then
it was mainly the bad reaction that she got from other people saying, no, you'll change your mind eventually.
Yeah, that's what I think the doctor shouldn't say. You're gonna change your mind. You can say, I can't do this because of age, and like I have some things that I don't want to do. You know, just take that off your list. I don't do this type of stuff. Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
Don't say, I'm gonna change my mind. Because, like, you're not there. You're not in my mind. You don't know what's my problem. Do you need me to tell you my entire life story, you know, so I can convince you?
You shouldn't have to convince someone that you don't want kids.
Yeah.
You shouldn't need to convince someone about anything.
If the doctor was to say that she would, like, he doesn't want to do it because she will change her mind, it's really unprofessional. He should get a consult with a therapist or a psych consult to make sure that she is of sound mind and she is like accepting the risks. But for other people to pass comment on that, I think that's just really fucked up. Mind your own business.
Yeah.
Like,
definitely.
oh, you're gonna change your mind. How the fuck do you know? Because you would? Nah, fuck off. You know.
Like, yeah, everyone's different. It's not your right to say. It's sort of patronizing when they turn around and they're just like, oh, but you know, you'll change your mind in a few years. You'll regret this. No, I won't.
Well, I'm gonna regret this. Not
I know you
will.
So. It's like when people say like,
just don't have sex.
Yeah, see, that is the alternative, but then it's unfair for this person to be like, I have to deny myself this pleasure that I really want to do.
Yeah, because I don't want the risk of having a kid. Yeah.
Kids. Yeah. It's like, it reached a point where she was like, fine, if you won't give me the operation, then I'll just have to have an abortion if I do get pregnant. Because she was taking every precaution. I'm not saying she was like, oh, well, you won't sterilize me, so I'm just not going to use protection. She was using everything possible. Like, all of her partners used condoms. She was on birth control. There's still always that possibility that it's not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't want that risk. Every time, like, she had like a late period, she was worried. And she didn't want that worry. Because she knew that she would not
so
want
much time to do so. Like, and until you're 30 or so, just you have time to decide for everything. Don't worry.
Medically, it's going to affect you in a bad way. Like, if the doctor knows best and says, like, if I do this now at your age, it could kill you. Fair enough. But I think it's very unfair for lots of doctors and all of these people that she doesn't even know to turn around and say, oh, well, no, you'll change your mind. That's why I'm not doing it. That's why you won't get this surgery, because you'll change your mind eventually.
Yeah, like, what if having a kid is gonna damage the woman, you know? Does a doctor still can say no to that? Because, oh, you know, you're gonna change your mind. You're gonna die for that kid, you know? Yeah.
Weird one.
It's not your place to decide what she does with her body. You know, just like with tattoos or piercings, not your place. If it's health related, it is your place, because you're a doctor. You're supposed to take care of it. Just because of your belief that she should not do that and she should carry a child, that's different and that's fucked up. You know, send her to someone else. But, you know.
Yeah. So, Berserkers just said in my chat, each to their own. Having kids was the best thing to ever happen to me. That doesn't mean it's for everyone. It might have been the worst choice ever to someone else. Each person should choose what they want when they want.
Yeah.
And that's literally it. Like, you get to decide. It is your body. You decide what you want to do with it and how that affects your life. Because there are people that go ahead and have a child and then regret it in a year's time because they've realized, actually, I don't have the money, or I don't have the family to support me. I've lost my job because of this. I can't work. Everything, loads of things could go wrong.
Yeah. Gizmo said, and she's like 14. So she said, my family wants me to have kids, but I have so long to decide. Like, my mom talks to me about baby names and how I'm going to carry her grandkids, and it's kind of annoying. I feel like that's kind of weird. You're so young.
I had that exact same thing when I was that age.
Oh my god, are you serious?
I still get it now from, like, my mum's just like, so, when are the grandkids coming? And I'm like,
I get a
when
cat
I want
here.
to.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Why? I don't understand why.
They grew up in that generation of that's what the woman does. They are the housewife. They have the kids. That's their role in nature. You know, that's what they're taught. They went to home ec classes where they were taught how to be a good housewife. They weren't taught how to do good in a job interview or how to be a human. They were taught how to be a good housewife, how to serve a good husband.
Yeah. But that's practically slavery in some sort of way. Like, you're gonna be a good servant, you're gonna be a good puppy, you know? It's just, I feel like
you do good. You do good.
With the kids thing, it's so fucked at such a young age. To make a kid think of kids, you know? And then if the kid comes out like 2 years later, oh mom, I'm pregnant, they're not gonna like that. They're not gonna be as excited. Because I'm pretty sure they think of the kid when, like, you're gonna be 18, 20 at your own house with your own boyfriend, husband, whatever. But then I feel like that pressure sometimes goes too deep in their head and they might rush it a bit and they don't realize this is not the time their parents were talking about. But then it's their parents' fault. I don't know exactly how it would work, and I hope it doesn't work like this, just pressuring your kid into doing it. But, like, I get that, you know, they're excited for grandkids because they're squishy and young and chubby and everything. It's just...
So, like Shoto's just said, he doesn't want to be the guy that ends a bloodline, which I think is a big pressure to a lot of people when they're given that pressure from an older generation of you need to have kids. I think a lot of it comes from carrying on a family name and that sort of pressure. Like, if, especially for the guys, because obviously they're the ones that carry on the name if they get married, you know, 99% of the time. Like, if I go and get married, I will take my husband's last name, most likely. But I think sons get a lot of pressure to find someone and have children to carry on that name. Like, forget about the girls being pressured because they should be the ones to have kids. Guys are pressured as well that they should be carrying on their family name and carrying on this bloodline and raising strong sons so that they can carry on the bloodline. And it's a very old-fashioned...
That's like a primitive thing from, like, medieval times and just shit.
It is, but unfortunately it's still around in a lot of places. And it's just like, why is that a thing? No. So if I adopt, does that not carry on the family name, even if they took my last name? Because they're not my blood? Like, no.
Red, what the fuck?
It's stupid.
When your blood light to win, Jesus Christ. Okay. Go on, man.
Sorry, wait, what?
Didn't you lift your hand?
My OBS is fucked up.
Oh no.
Did I?
Yeah.
Is it up? It
Did
be.
you?
I'm sorry.
Did you?
Quick, now you have to
How
say
did I
something.
know it?
I don't know. It was there.
I think I had a joke originally, but it wasn't worth putting my hand on. I don't think I actually intended on doing it.
I can say a comment if you have nothing to say now.
Yeah, go for it.
So Berserkers just said, nature is wrong.
Yeah.
He took home ec. His wife can't cook an egg or use an iron to save her life. That's me. Yet she can fix a computer and do DIY and I can't. Am I a shit man?
No.
No. Because just because nature and like old-fashioned, well, it's not even nature, it's old-fashioned way of thinking says that the guy should do the DIY and get the job and bring home the money, and the girl should stay home and make sure the chores are done and carry the children. That's a very
Are you saying
old-fashioned.
the women getting the guy's name, or
and
the guy's
physically
taking the
can carry
woman's
that
name?
child, doesn't mean that she should have to. She shouldn't be forced to do that in whatever relationship.
Yeah, for example, I don't know how to cook or do any housewife things. If I cook, everything burns, even if I stay next to it. So, like, you know, is the thing...
Why?
Why? Good question.
How?
How? Good question.
I've seen people burn water, like, it's possible.
Okay, I'm not that dumb. But, you know, I don't know how to cook, and I feel like, you know, even my mom's gonna be like, oh, but when you get, like, a husband, you know, who's gonna cook for him? And I'm like, himself? Like, you know, I can make my own food, he can make his. If he cooks for both of us, great. But it's like the thing, I'm not gonna, you know, I don't want him to think that, oh, because I'm the woman, I have to cook him everything. I have to do everything for him, you know? And I feel like that's such a bad way of thinking, that the woman does everything for the man and they go and provide. No, things change. Women go and provide as well, you know? Like, it's the thing with women having jobs, and then they come home and work a bit more, and the dude can just relax after a day at work. You know?
I was about to mention, there's people that still do that. They think that even if the woman works, she should still be awake enough to do all the chores when she gets home.
Yeah.
Like, which is bullshit. No, if you own a house with someone, and you are in a relationship with someone, you both split that 50-50. Everyone's got things that they can do better. Like, I hate ironing, but I'm quite happy to do, like, cleaning and stuff. If I marry someone who is good at ironing, then yeah, you get to do it. Otherwise, I will burn your shirts. I don't care. I will do it on purpose until you start doing it.
Wow. Okay.
I refuse.
Alright.
I find ironing just so pointless. Like, gravity takes care of wrinkles and creases. I do not care. Put on a shirt that's wrinkled, gravity will fix that for you after a few hours.
My mom had this problem. She would always be like, why don't you iron your shirts? And I'm like, I don't care. And then at one point she just gave up on ironing my stuff, and I'm like, okay. And I'm like, I don't iron them either. Or they're too crinkled, I just try to pull them down. Or like, I take like the hairdryer and I try to smoothen it up a bit.
Yeah.
You can get handheld little steamers now that are literally like, what, £10? And you can just steam a shirt that's hanging up and it gets like wrinkle free in like a minute. Why would you not get that instead of an iron?
Oh, really?
They're great. Like, literally, it works on everything. You put it on a coat hanger, hold it up, and you just steam it in like a minute flat. It's completely wrinkle free. It's amazing. There's also ones that you can get lying down, so you could literally put like your top on the bed without even hanging it up.
Yeah.
And just steam it lying down in a minute, and it's fine. It's great. There's even battery operated ones. They're like, you don't even have to plug them in, guys. Come on, efficiency. Think how much time you could save.
Efficiency.
So,
Yeah.
Red said, what do you think of women getting the guy's last name when married? Isn't that the usual?
Yeah, that is the usual.
Yeah,
but then
I thought he went the other way, but then he said the same thing again, and I'm like, I mean, that's normal, but you know, I don't care, I guess.
I think it's
Yeah, I
a
think
lot
maybe
of
he
time
wanted
it's
to-
like
Yeah, I tried, but he said the same thing again. I mean,
I think
I think he
a
might-
lot of the time it's like expected that the woman takes the man's name. Like, there's no option. And if guys let their wife keep their last name,
Yep.
in some circles they'll be seen as weak. Like, if you've got a lot of like friends who are like lads and they go out to the pub and, you know, oi oi and all this, if you go up to them and say, hey, I've just got married but she's keeping her last name, or I'm taking her last name, they'll be like, are you weak?
male
Like,
toxicity.
yes, exactly.
Wink, wink, man.
That's a whole other topic.
I know. We were supposed to talk to Tom about this, but his internet is shit, so it's not really
Yeah.
going. He doesn't want to hear about this. I see.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had air horns blown in my ear.
Oh, some bit alert or something?
Yeah, someone did a bit alert.
Honestly, I
Thank you.
could kind of hear some bits.
I thought it was like outside.
Yeah.
No, it was in my
How
headset.
do
That was
you
loud.
still have ears left? Like,
I thought it was just one, and I was like, I can stick one, and then like more came, and I was like, no.
I can do.
can't handle it.
Okay. So Red said that it's funny my mom always sticks to gender roles when it's convenient for them. Like, you're the guy, you carry this, but when it comes to cooking or cleaning, gender roles are out the window. Yeah. I feel like that's the thing.
I don't know. I don't think there should be any.
Yeah, no, like,
I don't think there's any particular
there
job.
shouldn't be any gender role, because if you're gonna be living alone for the rest of your life, no matter as a male or a female, you're gonna learn to do the other side thing. Like, if you're female, you're gonna have to learn how to fix your own wardrobe or something. You have to learn how to do that, the male job. If you live as a male, are you gonna fucking starve? Are you not gonna do anything? Are you not gonna clean your shirts or like anything? You know, like, they have it's just human basics, I guess, you know.
There's people that will literally pay just to get that done so they don't have to learn it. But then that's a whole nother situation as well. There's people that feel so entitled that they don't want to learn how to clean because they're a man and they don't want to do it, so they'll just hire someone to do it.
It's either entitlement or laziness. Like, it's stupid.
Bit of both.
James just said women should only play Sage. What the fuck?
I mean,
Valorant.
she does have a nice booty.
I mean, I do like her. It's Valorant stuff. Sage is the healer, so that's why.
Oh yes, because the females are always the medics, and we are healing everything.
Yes, you cannot live without this. You're right, James. Smart man.
Can't live without you. You just make everything better.
Yes. We just use you at the meat shield and then we heal you. Yes, yes. You're joking. It's okay, I know. You know, Latte is the exception. She's not playing Sage. She's playing the beefy man.
I am beefy man now. My true identity has been revealed. Oh no.
You're just Flo, but with a voice changer.
Yes. Oh wait, now I'm Crispy and Flo. Am I just all of Germans?
Oh damn.
I am the Germans. They are me.
You're Germany, point.
I'm the entirety of Germany.
Yeah.
Move over, people.
Have you... sorry, completely different topic, but it was in my head. Have you seen the new Battle Royale, Hyperscape?
Yeah. I got a code for it. I can't play it in my country.
I got a code and I can't play it.
Yeah, I have it downloaded. I just haven't played it yet.
You got it. Wait, can you play Latte?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is England. I can do it.
I can't. I'm so pissed.
I'll share my screen to you and you can tell me what to do.
Not die. Like don't die, Latte.
Why don't
now shoot the bad guy.
Why don't you just VPN to a different country and then play it?
I don't know.
Apparently it won't work because it's linked to the Twitch account that's made in that country. People have been trying.
That's what Timid said.
Because it's a game through a Twitch key. It won't work because it's linked to that account, and that account is set to a certain country.
Like Valorant.
It's sad. Sad times. How? It's fine.
Yep.
Everything's fine.
Yeah. You didn't just hit your mic or something. Yeah.
This is why I have an ouch emote, because I headbutt my microphone every single day.
How do you headbutt your microphone?
I don't know. I just do.
Cool. Yep.
This
cool.
is
I have no spatial awareness. Like literally, I have something called stereo blindness, so I can't see depth perception.
Oh.
So I don't know how close it is to my face. For real, yeah. I can't see 3D.
Oh.
Basically.
What about the 3D?
I don't know how close something is to me. So I just walk into things a lot. I'm like a blind puppy. I'm not good with things.
Everything is just like 2D? Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. The thing is, I've tried to explain this to people before. I don't know what 3D looks like, so everyone's like, "Oh, do I look flat?" And I'm like, "I wouldn't know because like? I don't know what 3D looks like, so I can't say that you look flat because to me you look normal."
Wait, but what about video games?
I mean, video games are technically 2D because they're on a screen, but
Yeah,
I
but there's
can't see-
depth
I can't
perception
see
in it.
oh yeah, that's my excuse for sucking at Valorant. Um, no, I mean, I've had to like teach myself how to do it, but I'm never going to be able to drive pretty much. Like legally, it's scary. Legally, I can. Legally, I am allowed to drive, but I did lessons, and one memory that I remember very vividly and I hate was I was driving the car up to a giveaway line, and the driver instructor was telling me to go closer. Now, to me, I'm on that line. If I go any further forward, I'm going to be hit by an oncoming car because I'm going to be in the middle of the opposite road.
Ooh.
And he was going, no, you can go further forward. And he like made me go further forward, but I was freaking out because to me,
You were in the cars already.
I was in the middle of the road, and I had to just say like, no, I want to go home. And I didn't do any lessons after that because
Yeah.
my eyes were like, I'm on the line. What are you talking about? And I was basically like a whole car spaces away from the line. I was so safe, but in my eyes, I was like, I'm about to be obliterated by an oncoming car.
I assume there are no glasses or something that can help with it, like how it is with the color thingy.
My glasses, dude, they're so expensive.
Oh.
I have to have prisms in my lenses that basically, I'll take a picture of my lenses later and put it in Discord, but they are so thick on one end, and they slope inwards, so they're normal size on the inside, but then they slope bigger outwards. And I've paid extra to have them made thinner, and they're still really, really chunky.
Oh, so you do have, so
like,
yeah.
Yeah. If I don't pay for them to do the thinner version, my eyelashes touch my lenses. Like, they're that thick. They are chunky.
How do you handle stairs?
Barely.
Aw.
Oh, that brings me to another topic actually. So I don't like stairs because I will fall. I especially don't like downstairs and down escalators because I constantly feel like I'm falling.
Oh yeah, I don't like escalators either.
Oh, they freak me. I refuse to go down them. So I was going up a lift once, and I was told by an old person that I was an entitled teenager. I have legs. I should use the stairs.
Don't make me
And
start
I'm
with
just
old
like-
people, because I'm gonna rage.
Oh yeah,
Oh no.
I've had many bad an issue with an old person. But yeah, they called me entitled. They said, because you've got legs, you should use them. There's someone in a wheelchair trying to get into this elevator. You're taking up their space. They can't go up the stairs. You can. I was like, bitch, I'll faceplant the floor. Like, no. I don't want a broken nose right now.
Also, was there a person in a wheelchair trying to get in?
No. It was all like
Oh,
her
let's
saying,
go then.
what if there was? And would you take up
The
their space? I'm like,
possibilities, though.
"Listen, I'd sit on their lap, maybe. I don't care. You get out. You're old. You still got legs.
Yeah.
Get on your
Use them
witch's
while you
broom and
can.
fly.
I think there should be a topic of me raging over old people. Just
Yes.
Yeah.
You just sit here in silence and watch this happen.
No.
Yep.
I have so many stories. I just had one the last when I was working Wednesday. There was this thing. Obviously, you still have to keep the 2 meters away from people, right? Everyone is wearing masks inside the store, so it's fine. There was a lady. I was like, scanning her things, and there was a dude that she was here. He was supposed to sit kind of here, and he was just here, like close to her. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but could you like step a bit further back? Like, not necessarily the 2 meters, just a bit back, like, in the back. And he's like, oh, but why should I move? Like, there are so many people at the beach that are going there and they don't keep their distance. I'm like, excuse me?
This ain't no beach.
Yeah, and he was like, just kept on talking. I wasn't paying attention to him, and the lady was just looking at me and she's like, yeah, that's why things are happening, like people like him make this entire situation worse. And she was just kind of trying to scooch away from him, but he was still there and talking. And then he comes, she leaves, and then he's like, oh, like, I want to just go there and beat them because they're like, they don't keep the distance, they're making everything worse, and blah blah blah. And I'm like, well, go there and beat them, but not here, because everyone is wearing masks, keeping the distance, like, That's here it's okay, there's not, and because it pissed me off, and I'm like, keep the distance, and he's like, oh, but have you heard of all this story? And I'm like, yeah, I did. So do you want to become a story if you don't want to keep the distance or something? He kept on talking, and I was so pissed. I really just wanted to not scan his things, but I don't think we are allowed not to. And yeah, the people behind, I think they were keeping the distance to not be the old man again. There's so many old people that are like, conspiracy theories, and just, I'm worried. Oh yeah, and he said this thing like, oh, but I don't have it and you don't have it either. And I'm like, are you sure? Because they can be asymptomatic and stuff. What if I cough in his face? Would that be okay with him? I don't think so.
Do you want to risk it, dude? Should we test your theory?
Yeah. Want to
come back in a week, see if you're sick.
Yeah, it's just
yeah, old people, man. It's most of them are alright, but then there are a lot that are entitled and think because of their age, that we should just bow down to them. Like there was this one situation. I was leaving college, and I'd got on the bus, and obviously I don't know if it's the same everywhere else, but in the UK we've got the seats at the front are like for old people or people with wheelchairs or people with pushchairs, that sort of thing. They're like the wider seats. It's a very packed bus, so I just sat on the front seat because it's empty. Nobody else was getting on that was old or anything, so I took that front seat. Some old person came to get on at like 2 stops down, so another, I wouldn't say she was old, maybe like 40 or 50. She was sat in one of the old people's seats, so she's perfectly fine.
They come to you.
Clearly she wants my seat, clearly. So this woman comes to get on with a pushchair. The one I'm sat in is the only space to put a pushchair. So I get up so she can put her pushchair there. This old lady stands up and takes my seat and says, it's about time you gave it up to an old lady.
Oh.
You were sat in the old lady seat. Where is the issue here? You have leg space. You have space for your little walker thing. Where is the issue? And of course now this woman had to come in, wake up her newborn baby to put her pushchair like folded up because there wasn't the room for the pushchair anymore. And I'm just looking at this woman and she's like, starts moaning that the kid's crying. I'm like, yeah, and? Whose fault is that? Yours. And she's just like, it's about time you gave up your seat for an old lady. You were sat down. I don't understand the issue. You're just old.
Matt just said every podcast has a section where Drew rants about old people.
Fucking tough.
That should become like a regular thing.
Yeah.
It's just like,
because I'm pretty sure
old
weekly I'm gonna get something. It's just
is that two, 3 in a row now?
Maybe.
And there's just so much you can say about them.
Just rename the podcast.
Too much content.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like, I'm not gonna go with this because we're already 3 hours in and I should actually go to sleep because I have work.
What time is it for you?
12 almost.
Oh shit.
Jeez.
We should, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's great. And I start at 9:30, which means I have to get up at 8. Which is not bad, man.
Did you say 9:30? You started at 9:30?
Yeah,
Right.
I work part-time, so they call me whenever they want. 8 hours of sleep. If I pass out now, yeah. I still have all of these.
Actually, that reminds me of something my friend said. Did you know in America they don't tend to say like half past or quarter past?
I don't know.
Like that baffled me the other day. I was telling him the other day, like, oh yeah, I I'll talk to you at like 3:30, and he was like, what is that?
3:30?
What is this time you think of?
Yeah, I don't say that either. I think we were teaching.
What
really
do Americans say?
3:30?
Yeah. They will say the
Wait,
exact time.
what?
Why are you so baffled? I feel
It
like
literally it threw me so much. He was like,
Wait,
what is
people don't say-
what is 3:30? And I was like, what do you mean? It's 3
half
and
past
then
the 3?
it's half past it. And he went, so
Half
it's
past the
3:30.
third hour.
yeah,
I was
like Matt and Red are like they're so baffled. Like
It
what
threw
the?
me. I was so confused.
Short and
I still
simple,
have to,
yeah.
every time I talk to him, I'm just like, oh yeah, it's 2:30 right now. He's like, oh,
How
what
do
time
I
is
not
it for
know
you?
this?
I'm like, oh, it's quarter past. Really confuses them. Like 2:30, you can sort of get. But if I
Quarter,
said
it's 15.
quarter past or 1:45. He's like, wait, what is 1:45? And I was like, well, look at a clock, dude. It's quarter of the clock to that time.
Oh my god. Yeah,
Wait.
but there's like a thing where you don't say 45, you say something. 1:45?
Oh yes, that's another one. Like Hairburger's just said in my chat. He says 3:30, and that means 2:30.
Oh yeah, no. I know in there was I can't remember what language I was learning, but there's a language I was learning, and they talk
So
like
confusing.
half an hour. It's like 3:30 is like 2:30 because it's like halfway before 3 o'clock. It's and then
Why don't
same
you
with
say
like
2:45 or 2:30? Why don't you do that?
I don't know why we don't just say like 2:45 because that's like obvious. If someone asks me the time, I will say like, oh, it's 2:45 or I'll say the exact time just in case.
Wait, man,
But
you use
just in
quarters as well?
We say like half past.
I've never had a problem with this. I've
Well,
always just been
22.
like,
It's 20 to
22,
5.
10 to 5, 10
Yeah,
past.
25 past. Like,
Well,
I don't
Wow.
know.
Mind
It really
blown.
baffled me.
you know.
Yeah, that's a little topic that we went on to.
So Matt said that he only uses like the 1:45 when it's only like 45, but he doesn't use the other ones. It's so odd. Like, why can't you say it's 2:45? It's 2:30, 2:15. You know, it's not
That's
an
when we
American.
don't say like 2:30. Like, we don't say that. It's similar to half past, but we don't say it in that way.
That's why I questioned when you said it.
Yeah, like 9.5. It's like, wait, what
9.5. I was like, wait, what?
Is that like amount of hours? Like 9.5 hours is the length of time? Or do you mean 9:30? I was really
Yeah,
just
'cause
like,
that's why I questioned it. You start at
Aw.
9.5, and I was like, what, 9.5 hour day? That's mad.
Aww.
wait, hold on. So Hairburger's just said that 3:30 is 2:30, but
Yeah.
2:45 is 2:45.
Yeah. Wait, what?
Yeah. See, you just done what I've just done. So 3:30, which to us is 3:30, is
2:30.
2:30.
Yeah,
but
that one makes sense to me.
3:45 is
It's
2:45,
2:45.
which
Well, I mean,
is
that
the same
one makes
for
sense
us.
too. Yeah, that makes sense.
But why is that one the same for us? Why is 2:45 the same, but 3:30 isn't?
Because 3:30 is like halfway to 3, whereas 2:45 is
Questioning the
2:45.
laws of time.
Fuck it, mate.
Oh,
There were
Chris,
I
others
think we're too
before you.
tired for this.
There were others before you, and nothing has changed. You can't change things now.
What is going on?
9 and a
Time's all
half.
relative.
That's when I start work, and I wake up at 8. Maybe 7:45. No?
Numbers.
Yes.
Brain explosion.
Math. I'm not sure I
That's
follow
hard. I
now.
refuse.
I think everyone is
Yeah,
just
time
lost
is
at
an
this.
illusion.
Yeah.
Like, throw in time zones as well, and that just makes it even more
Aw.
confusing.
Fuck time
I don't do
zones.
time zones.
Time zones are like the bane of my existence. Like, everyone's like, oh yeah, so I'm gonna start this film at like 3 o'clock PT, and I'm like,
I don't
okay,
know
let me
that
Google
shit.
which one that is.
Yeah. The thing is, when I talk to Matt, like, I think one time I was like, oh, we're gonna start podcast or something at like 6, and he's like, 6 your time? Or 6? You thought it's your time,
I
so that
always
was
have
like
to
2
say that.
hours. And I'm like, you know, Tim had asked him, oh, are you ready for the podcast? It's in like 5 minutes. And he's like, 5 minutes, not 2 hours? And he's like, no. He's like, oh shit.
I just happened to be talking to, like, it wasn't even like we were ready, like, we happened to be talking to Timid at the time.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, yes, we should probably jump on a call or ask Drew what's going on. I was like, oh, we got 2 hours, what are you talking about? And he was like, we got 5 minutes. I was like,
Oh no.
wait, what?
Yeah, that's why when I
Timid, you
talk to
will-
him, I'm like, it's 6 your time, it's 8 my time. And I'm like,
Honestly. So
I mean,
bad.
even with Crispy, I have to say it still, because we're only like an hour apart.
Yeah.
But even that, I'm like, wait, do you mean my time or your time?
Where's Crispy from?
Germany.
Germany. There's so
Oh,
much
Crispy
confusion.
Germany.
And I feel like there's even people who are my time, and I'm like, what time is it now for you? And he's like, 12, and I'm like, oh, okay, it's my time, you know, because I don't
Yeah,
realize.
we're so used to time zones that you forget
Yeah.
someone's in the same time zone. I
Mhm.
did that with Leonis the other day, and he was just like, I'm you, and I was like,
I'm you.
yep, okay.
I think
Are you sure
Toby's
though?
the same as me and Seb. I'm not sure. There might be an hour ahead.
I find it most confusing with Americans, though. I don't know why. But
It's like a day behind
Yeah.
us.
But it's like
It's like
so-
East Coast or West Coast. Like, which one are you?
exactly because like Timid,
New York.
I know like Timid, Steve, Emily, and Matt. But like they're all like spread out and they're all in different fucking time zones, and I'm like, no, you're in America. You are this time zone.
You share
Yeah.
one
refuse-
time zone, guys.
I
Yeah.
refuse to accept that you have more than one. Like I'm just like you're 6 hours behind me.
I just know Matt's
But
like
they're
That's
he's
what
not.
10
I always
hours.
thought. For the longest time, I thought everyone in America was just 6 hours, and then like actually
Yeah.
we're like 10, and I'm
No.
like 4, and I'm like, no, how?
I refuse.
You are
These
America.
6.
You are
Yeah.
America. Yes.
Yeah, it took me forever to realize. Like a couple years ago, I realized that they were different times.
Yeah.
I mean, they just
Oh.
suck. That's another thing we're not taught in school, that there are time zones. So I'm just like,
We're
I
not
don't even
taught a
know.
lot of
Yeah,
shit in school.
You're not taught there are time zones in school,
No,
like in
I didn't.
geography.
No, geography was awful. Geography was just a lot of UK geography. We weren't really taught like time zones or
Gotcha.
worldwide stuff. It was just a lot of
You-
this is where this town is.
Oh no, we were taught less UK stuff and more fucking like world stuff and time zone shit. Like we had to make dioramas and like models of the Earth and all the countries on it accurately.
We had
Fucking what are those lines? They're like there's an equator line and then there's the other two. Them are.
we had like yearly in high school. Like 1 year was for like our country, 1 year for was like Europe, one was like America, and then like the last one was like for the entire globe, like what happened and blah blah blah. Which I think it was cool, you know, and, like it's stuff. So we learned about everything, but we learned like generally about other countries and like big events. We didn't really go in the just numerous country and the capitals. Yeah. I'm really confused where countries are and where cities are in my country, so that's great, because I don't know shit.
Yeah.
I forget. Like, who uses that? Like, Google. Just Google. You know? Yeah.
Jackson just
Right.
said, imagine how crazy it is in China and Russia. I don't even know what time zones they are.
I don't even want to know.
Like,
Uh.
that's one I haven't had to work out yet, but now I'm curious.
Oh fuck, is Russia big enough to have 2 time zones?
It must be,
Mine,
right?
yeah.
Oh
Is it?
fuck.
Can you
No,
imagine?
I refuse. I refuse.
You
Refuse to
don't
accept
have-
it. I don't know
Hold on,
any
we do a
any
quick
Russians.
googly.
I refuse to accept it. Oh, that's really
Time zones
fucking
in
privileged
Russia.
of me.
Wait, hold on. There's so many. What the fuck? Wait, no.
Oh
No,
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 you've been bamboozled.
No, not now, no.
There's 11
No.
time zones in Russia.
Wow. Where
To be
did
fair,
he
this
break it?
Eleven.
Like, actually, where did he break
That's
it? Like,
big
between
deal.
the cities and everything? Like, oh, you know, like, there are 2 countries. You're 1
What?
hour, you know, 1 hour. Then what's
So
in the
they
middle?
range from UTC plus 2 to UTC plus 12.
Yes.
So
Mm.
in one area of Russia, it is currently 8:59 tomorrow.
Okay.
Then it's 7:59 tomorrow, 6:59 tomorrow, 5:59, all the way down to like 8 p.m. today. So half of
What?
their country is in tomorrow,
How is that fucking
and
8
half of their
p.m.?
country is in today.
I refuse.
Yeah, Red
They
said this
cannot-
is not
they
something I
cannot
should
be-
worry about. Jesus.
Russia cannot be both a day ahead and a day like it's not acceptable. I refuse.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh my
okay.
god.
Oh, Jax is just trying to confuse everyone now.
Yeah, he
France has
made that
12 time
page
zones.
that you just found. He made it up. It's not true.
No, it turns out France has 12 time zones because
Nah.
France is located in Europe and in South America. They have a huge piece of land. So
What?
technically no, but technically yes.
No.
France itself doesn't have 12,
No.
but the French empire has 12.
No.
This
We
That's
has
don't
been
different.
approve of that. It doesn't happen. Mm-mm.
What about time zones in
Fucking
China? How much have you got?
British Empire.
Wait, what?
China?
The China?
See,
It
you
is
tell me I have
roughly
more than
similar
two.
size to US. Has one
What?
time zone.
Wait, China's the same size as the US?
What?
China's the same size as the US, it has one time zone, Beijing Standard Time. This means that when it's 6 o'clock in the nation's capital, it's 6 o'clock almost 3,000 miles further west.
No, hold
They've
on.
basically extended their time zone to cover the entire of China.
Are you sure that China's the same size as the US?
That's what baffles him, not the entire hour that goes
It's
over.
almost as wide as the US.
Wide.
I thought China was small.
No, though China is almost as wide as the US, the whole country is officially in just one time zone.
For me, the one
Should
time zone
Google
baffles
time
me.
zones and look at all the weird lines. Yes. Time zone map. Let's have a quick look.
Like, it's so like strange because like 6 a.m. for someone is like actually night. One time zone country plebs here. How could we?
Apparently, yeah. In square feet, China is. Wow. Fuck me.
Okay.
Fuck me sideways.
Just Googling China's bigger than US. Wider than US. James Googled it as well. He doesn't believe Latte.
I can't. Oh! I refuse!
Okay, so hopefully this is working on my stream. I'm currently showing a map of all the time zones. My mind is blown. Like, these lines? What are they? I thought they were all straight lines.
Wait.
They are not all straight lines.
Yeah, wait.
That
These
is not
have
straight
all
lines.
these people. Why is
Wow.
that not working?
The hell, man?
Where
They're
are
all
you? Why
over
do you
the
not
place.
exist?
No.
Wait, why is this one? Hopefully my cursor's being picked up.
No.
Why is this one like its own time zone in like a little triangle?
Wait.
Why is this
Oh,
one
yeah.
separated?
US, because it's the US. Wait. Oh.
Yeah, wait, what? Why can't they just be lines? Why have they got to be squiggly?
This one's like my brain. So Crispus just said we had to change the clocks on board the cruise ship so often while we did the Atlantic crossing and the tour around South America. Yeah, I can see now why. Like every other hour, you're just like, okay, yeah, we've time traveled.
Wow.
Oh, this is
really not what I needed
This is
before
like
I went to
random-
sleep, but thank you. I appreciate it.
My mind is
Yo,
completely blown.
oh, hold on.
I've always
Seeing
pictured it as straight lines.
Seeing as you have like Google up and Maps open, I heard a rumor, and I have no idea if this is true. None at all.
Okay.
But right, Latte,
Yeah.
pull up a British map of the world.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna
Like,
close that
Google
first
that.
so I can...
Google that shit. British map of the world.
Okay,
I
what am I
heard
looking
some
for?
stupid rumor. I don't know. Just
What?
a map of the world. Just put it up on the screen.
Canada?
Okay.
Wait, like 2020?
Wait, I need like an actually like big one.
Yeah, this
I
is
can
hard.
actually
I don't
see.
know why I'm asking you to do it, and I'm not just doing it. It's just I didn't want to have to pull it up.
A 1930s map of the world?
Yeah,
Okay.
1930? Because that's what I swear.
These are all really small and hard to read.
I found 1920. It had Canada, it had India, Australia.
Yeah. So basically,
That one?
so if you look at it, it has like America on the left, and like Canada and all that stuff, and then we're in the center, and then the rest of Europe's out to the right, right,
Mhm.
right. Apparently, if you pull up American map of the world,
Right.
America's
has
in
the
the
rest.
center, and Europe's cut in half. Like it doesn't split
Oh
where
my
there's an
God.
ocean divide. They split Europe in half. This blew my
Huh.
mind.
What?
They don't like they have America in the center. So the British map has the UK in the middle, but they split the globe so it's straight where there's an ocean divide. But America have America in the middle, and then they split Europe in half. And this blew my mind
Wow.
that this was a thing that
They've
happened.
literally just chopped Europe in half.
Right? No, I'm not saying either is right, but one doesn't make sense.
Wow.
No.
Okay, well, I'm going back to my little time zone map because this is just truly...
Mesmerizing.
Does it seem with every country? I give
Like-
up trying to understand.
I don't know, but I need to
Okay.
sleep because it's midnight.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, that's a thing.
You must
Are
go
we?
sleep now.
well, wait, with the map I
Shall
didn't
we?
see.
Shall we
Okay,
end her there?
time zones. Next topic.
Yes. Time
me.
zones will be the next topic.
Yeah,
Yo, if we have a geography podcast, I'll be even more lost than I was in this
Oh
one.
my.
'Cause I failed
Oh
geography.
no, Timid, go away. He's just said America is more important, so that's why it's in the middle.
Yo, he said the same on mine.
No.
Oh no,
Timid.
he's not in mine. It's fine. He does not exist. Okay.
It's a different problem.
So, Mac before
Alright.
sleeping. Are you waiting
Sweet.
for me?
Thanks.
Oh, okay.
It has been fun.
Yes.
Yes, thanks,
Thank
Latte,
you
for
for
joining.
the chats. I love controversy. It's been amazing.
Yes. Yeah, we
Um,
see what's next week. Who's next week? I don't know. So,
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've no
but
clue.
listen anyway.
thank you.
I'm gonna ask that friend of mine about the esports thing.
Thank you,
See what
team.
happens there.
I mean, if you need an esports pro, that'll be me. So
How about you? Pro Valorant player, I hear.
I am.
Yeah.
I'm being signed to a team tomorrow. You know.
Yeah,
Pro now.
that's what I heard. Yeah.
Yep, I
See?
am pro.
Heard it here first, guys.
Esports, yeah. But we
My
see
Alright.
pro corner strat always works, right, Drew? You never see the corners.
No.
Corners are protect.
No matter what corner you're in, we're always gonna find you.
Fucking laser beam, just like corner. I sense
Yeah.
movement. I was like, oh.
I
Corner's the safest place. I'm protected from all sides except for one, and she
I'm
still
so
sees me and kills me every time.
I
It's
know.
like they can't get me from behind, they can't get me from the right. I've got someone on my left watching the other door. I'm perfectly safe.
I'm
I
watching
put a
you.
smoke shine in front, and she just walks out and instant laser beam. I'm like, oh, what's the point? I can't try. I couldn't even hide in my own smoke.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So unsafe.
Well, thank you for joining, Latte. We're
It was
gonna.
fun.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
We have
See you
had many
later.
topics to talk about.
See you
See you
later.
guys later.
Bye
Bye
Bye.
bye.
Okay. So I ended that. You're gonna go here. That's not there. Okay. Well, the camera's not gonna work. So, thank you for everyone that was here. I'm sorry. Thank you for following Wild Speedy like 3 hours ago. Oh wow, a duck. Thank you for following as well. Thank you all for sitting around and hearing all of it. But yes, thank you, and I see you next podcast if you're just interested in that, or I see you next stream, whenever that would be, but it's most likely gonna be a solo game. Long podcast, yes, we talked about a lot of shit. Latte 100 speech, you know, I trusted in her to talk. So, thank you, I'm glad you liked it, and yeah, we see you next time. Maybe it's esports stuff, I don't know, but, you know, bye-bye, people. Thank you for joining, Wild Speedy. See you next time. Bye-bye. Wrong thing.